Chapter 33-51. The group of big shots remained silent. "Are you going back on your word?" The eighth elder looked around as he retreated. He looked extremely flustered. "I did intend to let you leave, but I saw resentment in your eyes when we were in the Black Tortoise realm. With your personality, I believe that you will definitely think of ways to take revenge on us in the future." The Demon Hall Master spoke. The eighth elder's heart skipped a beat. He hurriedly waved his hand and said, "I won't. I swear." "Swear? Do you think this is a blood oath?" The Demon Hall Master's eyes turned cold. 9 golden lotuses appeared, and a destructive aura immediately enveloped the eighth elder. "No!" The eighth elder exclaimed and turned to flee in panic. Although he had also grasped a supreme law, it could not be compared to the supreme law of karma. One was a supreme law, while the other was an ordinary law. At the same level, at the same law, a supreme law could crush an ordinary law. Therefore, he could only flee. He did not even have the courage to fight. The outcome of a person who had lost his courage was obvious. There was no suspense. Accompanied by a miserable cry, the eighth elder's blood splattered across the sky, and his soul was destroyed. Seeing this scene, no one sympathized with him. Even the Vice Alliance Master had a cold expression. He could not be blamed for being heartless. After all, he and the eighth elder had a mutually beneficial relationship. Furthermore, who asked the eighth elder to show resentment? This was because he did not know how to endure. You can hate. But at the very least, he shouldn't reveal it in front of everyone. Isn't that just courting death? Great figures like the Devil Hall's Hall Master were all vicious and merciless. If there was a threat, they would definitely kill it in the cradle. Then, the group did not stay any longer. They turned and entered the space-time tunnel. As the group left, the place quieted down. However, what Qin Feiyang and the others did not know was that there were 2 ferocious beasts standing in the sky. They were not big, and they did not emit any aura. It was as if they had merged with heaven and earth. If one did not see them with one's own eyes, one would not notice them even if they were standing behind one. One of them was an ice dragon that was more than a meter long. Opposite the ice dragon was a snow-white rabbit with a jar of divine wine in its claws. "It's quite exciting." The little rabbit retracted her gaze and took a sip of the Xuanwu divine brew. She looked at the ice dragon and smiled. Ice dragon was expressionless. Angry? Blame Uncle Rabbit for meddling in other people's business? It can't be helped. What Uncle Rabbit can't stand the most is the stinky behavior of the strong bullying the weak. The little rabbit chuckled. A cold light flashed in Ice Dragon's eyes, and he said in a deep voice, "Do you know the consequences of going against me?" "I know. Uncle Rabbit isn't your match either. But if you really want to cause trouble, Uncle Rabbit isn't afraid of you. If worse comes to worst, we can just find the God of creation and let him be the judge," Little Rabbit said. Ice Dragon raised his eyebrows. "I say, in any case, you're a famous big shot. Why are you making things difficult for a junior?" The little rabbit was suspicious. "You don't understand. You don't have the right to know." After saying that, Ice Dragon turned around and instantly disappeared into the horizon. "Strange," the little rabbit muttered. After thinking for a long time, she still couldn't figure it out. She shook her head and said, "Who cares? No matter what, it won't implicate Uncle Rabbit." After saying that, she turned around and took a step forward, disappearing without a trace. Black Tortoise World. At this time, the Blood Hall Master, the 9 deacons, Fu Whisk, a group of managers, and the Dark Guards were standing above the herb field. Looking at everything below, their eyes were filled with shock. So many herbs, so many spirit veins and crystal veins, this is Qin Feiyang's foundation? It was their first time coming to the Black Tortoise World, and they were deeply shocked by this scene. Below, Qin Feiyang and Madman stood together and chatted. Wang Chongyuan, Xingde, and the 57 dark guards were standing behind them respectfully. To be honest, the biggest surprise this time is that Ice Dragon, that old bastard, actually didn't come to cause trouble. Madman was puzzled. This isn't Ice Dragon's character. It's indeed a little surprising. Originally, I was already mentally prepared to face it. But since it didn't come, it saved us a lot of trouble. Otherwise, it would have been impossible to destroy the Ice Dragon's sacred sword, subdue Fu Whisk, and the Blood Hall Master. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Madman nodded and raised his head to look at the Blood Hall Master and the others, saying, "Then what should we do with them now?" Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and looked at Snowflake beside him. He also took out the dragon-subduing halberd and said with a smile, "There's nothing else. You guys can go to the land of Source." Okay. The two divine artifacts responded and soared into the sky, disappearing without a trace. Following closely, Qin Feiyang took a step forward and landed in front of the Blood Hall Master. The Blood Hall Master quickly retracted his gaze and looked at Qin Feiyang respectfully. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said with a smile, "I really didn't expect that there would be a day when you would become my subordinate. Do you feel particularly aggrieved that a dignified overlord of the Sky Cloud realm would submit to me, a mere dominator?" The Blood Hall Master was silent, but his tightly clenched fists were enough to explain everything. "Let me tell you, you won't be at a disadvantage if you follow me. You even have a great chance of surpassing people like the Demon Hall Master and the Alliance Master," Qin Feiyang said. The Blood Hall Master looked at Qin Feiyang in surprise. The 9 deacons, the group of managers, and the more than 5,000 secret guards were also shocked. The Blood Hall Master, the Demon Hall Master, and the Alliance Master had always been evenly matched in strength. There had never been a situation where one of them surpassed the other. But now, Qin Feiyang actually made such a promise? Could it be that Wang Chongyuan and the 57 secret guards joined Qin Feiyang because they valued something? "Old Qin, control them first." Madman pointed at the managers and the 30 secret guards. Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback and said suspiciously, "Didn't you say that they have already made a blood oath?" "That's right. But we can have a double insurance." Madman bared his teeth. "All right." Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. Both of his hands formed seals, and one slave seal after another flew out towards the top of those people's heads. With the blood oath, he was not afraid of these people resisting. Because before they could resist, the heavenly lightning had already fallen and killed them. He easily took control of those people. Then, Qin Feiyang looked at the Blood Hall Master and said with a smile, "We have known each other for a long time, but I still don't know your name." "Pei Tianhong." The Blood Hall Master said. "Pei Tianhong," Qin Feiyang murmured and said with a smile, "From now on, you will be my personal guard." "Personal guard?" Pei Tianhong was taken aback. He was a giant in the Sky Cloud realm after all. Letting him be a personal guard? If this was seen by others, wouldn't they laugh to death? Qin Feiyang said indifferently, "Being my personal guard means that I value you very much, so you shouldn't show such an expression. You should feel happy, honored, and grateful." Although Pei Tianhong was being controlled and respectful on the surface, he was actually very unconvinced, so Qin Feiyang wanted to grind down his arrogance. Sure enough. Hearing these words, Pei Tianhong's loosened hands clenched again. His eyes were filled with anger, but he didn't dare to flare up. Qin Feiyang didn't pay any more attention to him. He stood aside and looked at the 9 deacons. Seeing this, the 9 deacons immediately prepared to introduce themselves. However, Qin Feiyang waved his hand and said, "I don't need to know your names." The 9 deacons looked at each other. He didn't even want to know their names. How much did he look down on them? Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "Don't misunderstand, I just find it troublesome, so I'm too lazy to remember." You find it troublesome to remember names? The 9 of them were speechless. How lazy was this person? From now on, the Dark Guard will have 10 commanders. Wang Chongyuan will be the first commander. You 9 deacons will be the second commander, third commander, and even the 10th commander. Qin Feiyang said. You're letting me be the first commander? Wang Chongyuan, who was standing behind Qin Feiyang, was stunned when he heard this order. This was something he never expected. Because the 9 deacons had a higher status in the Blood Hall than him, logically speaking, the current second deacon should be the first commander. In short, it would never be his turn. Therefore, he felt like he was dreaming. Commander Wang, what are you waiting for? Quickly thank him. A dark guard beside him saw Wang Chongyuan in a daze and hurriedly pushed him. Wang Chongyuan quivered and came back to his senses. He turned to look at the dark guard. The dark guard smiled flatteringly and said to himself, "Commander, please take care of me in the future." The other 56 dark guards also looked at Wang Chongyuan with fawning eyes. "Don't worry, you're the first to follow the young master. I definitely won't forget you." Wang Chongyuan smiled secretly and then hurriedly ran to Qin Feiyang. He knelt down on one knee and shouted, "Thank you for your trust, young master. I'll lead the Dark Guard well in the future and overcome all obstacles for you." "Stop." Qin Feiyang hurriedly waved his hand to stop Wang Chongyuan and said with a dark face, "You really have to change your flattery. It's useful to others, but I don't buy it. I only look at your actions and performance." Wang Chongyuan's face stiffened and nodded, "Yes, I'll definitely change." "Get up." Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. Wang Chongyuan stood up, straightened his back, looked at the 9 deacons and shouted, "Hurry up and kneel down to thank him." Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. It was really easy to change mountains and rivers, but hard to change one's nature. At the same time, looking at Wang Chongyuan's arrogant attitude, the 9 deacons were also very angry, but they didn't dare to flare up. After all, Wang Chongyuan was now Qin Feiyang's favorite person. "Thank you, young master, for your appreciation." The 9 deacons knelt in the void and bowed their heads. "Get up. I don't have so many rules here. As long as you do your part and do what I tell you to do, it's fine." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. "We'll keep that in mind." The 9 deacons bowed and replied. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and the 9 deacons retreated to the side. Qin Feiyang looked at the upper, middle, and low-level managers. "We'll also serve the young master loyally." Before Qin Feiyang spoke, the group of people knelt down. Chapter 3352. Being kowtowed to by a group of perfection sovereigns, especially the Blood Hall's managers, if it was anyone else, they would definitely enjoy it. However, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but frown. He had never liked this, unless he met someone he hated. However, these people in front of him were all serving their own masters, so there wasn't any deep hatred. Even before the battle, he didn't know these people. Therefore, to be honest, he looked down on these people who would kneel at the slightest provocation. However, he couldn't blame them. After all, this was the law of survival in this world. In front of the strong, you had to bow and bend your knees. Living in such an illusion, this mentality was deeply ingrained and couldn't be changed in a short time. Get up. By the way, don't kneel at the slightest provocation. A person must have dignity and pride. Kneeling to parents and close relatives is fine, but other things, even the heavens can't make me kneel. Therefore, I hope that you can do the same. Qin Feiyang said earnestly. The group of managers looked at each other with a bitter smile in their eyes. Who didn't understand this logic? In this world, who wanted to kneel to others? However, if you want to survive in this world, you have to know how to lower your head. However, Qin Feiyang's words made them feel quite comfortable, as if they had found their long-lost self-esteem. The group of people got up one after another, but they still lowered their heads with a respectful expression. From now on, you are no longer managers. All of you will join the Dark Guards and listen to the 10 commanders unconditionally. If anyone dares to cause trouble, don't blame me for being impolite. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with a cold light. Yes. The group of managers nodded in response. Of course, Qin Feiyang looked at Wang Changyuan and the 9 deacons, and said, as the 10 commanders of the Dark Guards, you can't use your power to bully them. If such a thing happens, then I won't be merciful either. Yes. Wang Changyuan and the others also quickly lowered their heads in response. Qin Feiyang said, Wang Changyuan, tell them the 3 iron rules. Yes. Wang Changyuan nodded, swept his gaze across everyone, and shouted, first, no killing the innocent. Secondly, you are not allowed to bully others. Third, you are not allowed to betray your comrades. Anyone who disobeys will be killed without mercy. We will remember. Everyone bowed in response. Actually, after saying so much, I just want to express one thing. Let go of the superiority of status and strength, support each other like a family, and get along harmoniously. Because this is the only way we can go further. Qin Feiyang smiled. The moment he said this, all the shadow guards fell silent. They, who were used to fighting and scheming against each other, were not used to hearing Qin Feiyang's words. There's no rush. Let's take it slow. Dan Wangkai. Qin Feiyang smiled and shouted. Whoosh! Accompanied by a piercing sound, Dan Wangkai landed in front of Qin Feiyang like lightning. Qin Feiyang pointed at Wang Changyuan and the 57 secret guards and said with a smile, help them open all the doors of potential. Okay. Dan Wangkai nodded. Open all the doors of potential? Wang Changyuan and the 57 secret guards were stunned, then they were overjoyed. This moment had finally arrived. On the other hand, Pei Tianhong and the 9 deacons were shocked. Open all the doors of potential? What did this mean? Fu Whisk, stay here and assist Dan Wangkai. Qin Feiyang looked at Fu Whisk and said. After all, Wang Changyuan and the others were at the perfection sovereign realm and needed the help of the sovereign divine weapon. Then, he looked at Pei Tianhong and the 9 deacons and said indifferently, follow me. Young master, what about them? Dan Wangkai pointed at the 5,000 secret guards. Just let them watch. Qin Feiyang said indifferently. Suddenly, he thought of something and looked at Wang Changyuan, right, count how many secret guards there are in total. Okay. Wang Changyuan nodded. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and Feng Zi, Xingde, Pei Tianhong and the 9 deacons disappeared. Soul Sealing Valley. It had become a forbidden area in the Black Tortoise world. Not to mention humans, even beasts didn't dare to step in. The reason was because it was too smelly. Anyone who passed by the valley couldn't help but vomit. Schwa. When Qin Feiyang brought Pei Tianhong and the 9 deacons here, the 10 of them couldn't help but turn pale. In the past, they only saw the soul-sealing valley through the sound transmission god stone. Other than feeling disgusted, they didn't feel anything. However, when they came here personally and saw the scene below, their scalps turned numb. Was this a place for humans? Looking at Pei Wanli and the others who were suppressed by Xingde in the valley, the 10 of them felt even more heartache. One day outside was 3,000 years here. They had already suffered here for over 3,000 years. This feeling was enough to make a person despair. Young master, we have already submitted to you. Can you let them go now? Pei Tianhong looked at Qin Feiyang with pleading eyes. I brought you here to let them go. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and looked at Xingda. Xingda waved his hand and the barrier above immediately collapsed. Noticing that the barrier had collapsed, Pei Wanli and the others were stunned. They looked up suspiciously. When they saw Pei Tianhong and the 9 deacons, their empty eyes immediately lit up. "Father, grandfather, save us!" Everyone immediately shouted for help. Xingda shouted, "The barrier is gone. Can't you come up yourself?" Hearing this, the group was stunned for a moment. Then, they quickly released their divine sense and flew into the sky. "Just stand far away. Don't come over." Seeing that the group was about to rush over, Xingda quickly waved his hand to stop them and covered his nose. Not to mention Xingda, even Pei Tianhong and the 9 deacons' faces were filled with disdain. "Grandfather, it's all his fault. Hurry up and kill him to wash away our shame." Pei Wanli screamed hysterically. The others were also filled with hatred. "Shut up." Hearing this, Pei Tianhong and the other deacons' faces changed and they shouted in unison. The group was stunned. Why was he scolding them? After suffering such humiliation, shouldn't he be avenging them? Wait a minute. Why did they look like they were afraid of Qin Feiyang? What was going on? Pei Tianhong's face darkened and he said, "If you dare to say another word, young master won't have to do anything. I'll kill you first." "Young master?" The 2 words were like a bolt from the blue to Pei Wanli and the others. Especially Pei Wanli, Pei Dason, and Pei Hongyu. The old man actually called Qin Feiyang young master. Even a fool would know that this form of address was an honorific used by a servant to their master. What exactly happened outside during this period of time? Why did the old man call him young master? Could it be? A terrifying thought appeared in their minds at the same time. The old man submitted to Qin Feiyang? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Qin Feiyang was very powerful, but the strength of the Blood Hall was not weak either. Moreover, the Blood Hall had 2 sovereign divine weapons. There must be another reason. Your inner thoughts at this moment must be very interesting. The mad scientist glanced at the group and laughed. However, no one cared about the mad scientist. They were all looking at Pei Tianhong and the 9 deacons. The doubt in their eyes was very obvious. What was going on? Pei Tianhong was silent for a long time and sighed. "Yes, as you think, we have submitted to Qin Feiyang. The Blood Hall is also gone." "What?" The group's eyes trembled. Not only did they submit, but the Blood Hall was also gone. "Grandpa, you must be lying to me. How could this happen? Don't we have a sovereign divine weapon?" Pei Wanli roared. "The Ice Dragon's sacred sword has also fallen. Our sovereign divine weapon has also submitted to Qin Feiyang." The Blood Hall master lowered his head. Facing his relatives, he felt ashamed. "No. I don't believe it. Why are you lying to me? Is it fun to tease me?" Pei Wanli shook his head hysterically. He was the grandson of the Blood Hall master. Now that the Blood Hall was gone and his grandpa had submitted, it meant that he had lost everything. He couldn't accept that he had become an ordinary person. He couldn't accept that he would have to live under Qin Feiyang's whims in the future. He didn't know that he was thinking too much. Qin Feiyang had no intention of letting him go. An ordinary person? Living under his whims? He really couldn't understand his own situation. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with killing intent. He shouted, "Xingda, kill Pei Wanli, Old Hai, the chief deacon, and the Dark Guard commander's family." "Yes." Xingda nodded and the power of law immediately rolled out. "What?" Not only Pei Wanli and the others, but even Pei Tianhong and the 9 deacons were shocked. "Young master, please show mercy. When they came back to their senses, Pei Tianhong stood in front of Xingde and blocked him. He looked at Qin Feiyang and cried out. "Yes, young master. Didn't you just say to let them go? The 9 deacons. No, they should be called the 9 commanders now." The 9 commanders were also looking at Qin Feiyang anxiously. "I said to let them go, but I didn't say to let them all go. Those who deserve to die must die," Qin Feiyang said indifferently. "We have no reason to do anything with you. Even if there is hatred, it's because of our parents. Why do we deserve to die?" Old Hai's son roared. "Because in your eyes, I can see the killing intent and hatred. Those who pose a threat must not be allowed to live. Moreover, Old Hai, the Dark Guard commander, and the chief deacon have all died in my hands. So all the more you can't be allowed to live. Don't blame me. If it was me and senior brother Feng Zi today, Old Hai and the rest would definitely kill all our friends and even wash the entire Black Tortoise world with blood. So compared to them, we are already considered merciful. If you want to blame someone, blame them. Why did you come to provoke us for no reason?" Qin Feiyang smiled coldly and looked at Pei Tianhong. Pei Tianhong's face was filled with anger. Xingde raised his eyebrows and shouted, "Pei Tianhong, you have to understand your current situation." Pei Tianhong's gaze trembled. He turned his head to look at Pei Wanli, then looked at Qin Feiyang, and suddenly roared, "All right, since we're going to kill them, then I'll personally end them." Boom! As his voice fell, the power of law surged, emitting a monstrous aura. "Father, what are you doing? He's your grandson." Pei Dason and his wife roared. "It's because he's my grandson that I have to do it personally to prevent Xingde from torturing him. Rather than living a life worse than death, it's better to be quick." The Blood Hall master roared hoarsely and the power of law surged out. Pei Wanli and the rest screamed as their blood splattered across the sky. Looking at this scene, Pei Dason and the rest fell silent. Chapter 33-53. Because they all saw Pei Tianhong's pain. He wasn't willing to kill them. But he had no choice. If he didn't kill them and angered Qin Feiyang, everyone would die. So, rather than letting everyone die with him, he might as well kill Pei Wanli and the others to protect the others. Indeed. They couldn't blame anyone but themselves for being useless and falling into Qin Feiyang's hands. "Old thing, I admire you." Frenzy looked at Pei Tianhong and gave him a thumbs up. As expected of the giant that ruled the Western continent for countless years, ruthless and decisive. But Frenzy's praise was like mockery in Pei Tianhong's eyes. He snorted and looked at Qin Feiyang, "Young master, you can let the others go. I will keep my word. But, I don't feel at ease letting them stay in the Black Tortoise world. If I let them out, I will be even more worried." Qin Feiyang frowned and was in a dilemma. Pei Tianhong looked deeply at Qin Feiyang and shouted at Pei Dason and the others, "Kneel down and accept your control." The group didn't resist. Because it was meaningless. Resisting would only speed up their deaths. Qin Feiyang formed the enslavement seal and quickly controlled everyone. He then waved his hand and brought a group of people to descend in the sky above the central region. He said indifferently, "This is where you will be staying from now on." The group scanned the area below. Why were there only beasts and not a single person? The Black Tortoise world has a total of 6 places: East Region, West Region, South Region, North Region, Central State, and Devil's Land. This place is Central State. People used to live here, but they all left the Black Tortoise world, so it has been empty. As time passed, it became the base of the beasts. And the humans of the Black Tortoise world live in the East Region, South Region, and North Region. As for the West Region, that is where I store my blood. I don't need to explain Devil's Land, that is my base. Listen well, I will only say it once. Allowing you to stay in the Black Tortoise world is already a great mercy on my part. Therefore, it is best that you do not disturb the order of the Black Tortoise world. If there's nothing important, don't go anywhere else. Just stay in the central province. The living beings of the Black Tortoise world, regardless of whether they are humans or ferocious beasts, are my bottom line. Even though their cultivation is weaker than yours, if you dare to harm them, not only will you die, but you, Pei Tianhong, and you, Qin Feiyang looked at Pei Tianhong and the 9 commanders and said coldly, you will die too, so you better restrain them. We will. The 10 people hurriedly nodded. In addition, all the secret guards will live here from now on. Don't cause any trouble for me. As for the Devil's Land, without my permission, don't ever set foot in it. Qin Feiyang looked at Pei Dason and the others and said, yes. The group of people also hurriedly nodded in response. All right, settle down by yourself. After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he waved his hand and left with Madman, Xingde, Pei Tianhong, and the 9 commanders. After Qin Feiyang and the others left, Pei Dason and the others looked at the mountains below and fell silent. 3 days ago, they were still high and mighty existences that countless people in the western province looked up to. 3 days later, they became caged birds. Not only were their lives in Qin Feiyang's hands, they didn't even have the freedom to leave the central province. Such a huge change made them unable to adapt in a short period of time. Sigh. We've already come this far. Since we're already here, let's just take it as it comes. Suddenly, a middle-aged man sighed. What else can we do? Even Lord Father has surrendered, and even the sovereign divine weapon is following Qin Feiyang. What can we do? To be able to have a place to stay and enjoy our old age is already a great fortune for us. Another old man sighed and comforted Pei Dason, don't be sad. You and your wife are still young. Have a few more children in the future. Pei Dason forced a smile and said, don't worry about me. Find a place to wash up. If you didn't mention it, I wouldn't have noticed. 3,000 years, I've already gotten used to the smell. The old man smiled bitterly. The Devil's Land. When Qin Feiyang brought Madman and the other 3 to the sky above the herb field, Pei Tianhong and the 9 commanders immediately saw a strange scene. At this moment, everyone was surrounding Dan Wangkai, the Whisk, Wang Chongyuan, and the 57 dark guards. Their faces were filled with disbelief and desire at the same time. What's going on? Pei Tianhong and the others looked at each other. When they got closer, they saw Wang Chongyuan and the 57 dark guards in the air. The whisk floated in the air and released a wisp of divine power that enveloped them. Dan Wangkai stood at the side and watched quietly. Boom! A few breaths passed. A dull explosion took place inside the bodies of Wang Chongyuan and the others. Brilliant rays burst out from the clothes on their chests. Another door of potential has been successfully opened. The thousands of people surrounding them were filled with shock and envy. It can really open the door of potential? Pei Tianhong and the others looked at each other. How did they do it? Take a break and continue. Dan Wangkai took out some door of potential pills and gave them to Wang Chongyuan and the others. Pills? Pei Tianhong and the others stared intently at the pills. It turned out that they were using pills to help open the door of potential. However, was there such a pill in the world? Wait. Could it be the legendary first volume of the pill scripture? Immediately, the 10 of them turned their heads to look at Qin Feiyang, their eyes filled with surprise. Qin Feiyang didn't explain and said with a faint smile, "Follow me." With that, he walked towards the tea garden. Frenzy looked at the 5,000 secret guards and a hint of ridicule flashed in his eyes. He also turned and left, but he didn't go to the tea garden and ran back to his home. Xingde followed Qin Feiyang the whole time. Pei Tianhong and the others looked at each other, then looked at Wang Chongyuan and the others and quickly chased after Qin Feiyang. Tea garden. The tea trees swayed in the wind. Those pieces of tea leaves were like dark green jade, flickering with multicolored light, and one could smell the fragrance of tea from afar. Qin Feiyang entered the tea garden and casually sat on a stone bench. He smiled and said, "Have a seat." Pei Tianhong and the others were very reserved. They looked at the stone bench and didn't dare to sit. As a big shot of the Western continent, it was rare to see such an expression. "Sit. Do you want me to invite you one by one?" Qin Feiyang was speechless. The 10 of them looked at each other and sat down around the tea table. Qin Feiyang looked at Xingde at the side and said with a smile, "You sit too." "Yes." Xingde nodded and sat beside Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang made tea and smiled, "Now that the blood halls matter is settled, when do you plan to return to Master's side?" To be honest, although Xingde wasn't as strong as Pei Tianhong and the others, he liked Xingde's personality and way of doing things. If possible, he wanted to stay by Xingde's side. But he knew that Xingde was his master's confidant. He couldn't take away someone he loved. This, Xingde pondered for a while, then looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "I haven't received Sir's message. If Sir wants me to go back, I'll go back. You're good at everything except for this. You're so stubborn." Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. Xingde scratched his head and smiled. "I've already opened the door of potential for you. The blood hall's matter is also over. When I go to the Een Demon Land, you can return to Master's side. Master is already so old. If he were an ordinary person, he would have already started to enjoy his old age. But he's still working hard. My heart aches when I see him. Especially when the Rogue Cultivator Alliance moves to the Western continent in the future. There will be more work to be done. When that time comes, you 3 brothers must help Master share more of the burden." Qin Feiyang poured a cup of tea and handed it to Xingde. Xingde quickly took it and smiled, "It's Master's fortune to have you as his disciple. Don't worry, we'll do our best to help Master. I don't dare to believe others, but I have no doubts about you." Qin Feiyang smiled and poured another 10 cups of tea. He placed them on the table and looked at Pei Tianhong and the others. He smiled and said, "Try it." The 10 of them picked up the teacups, smelled it, and tasted it. Their eyes lit up. This tea was definitely one of the best teas. I didn't expect young Master to be an expert in the way of tea. The second commander smiled. He was the second deacon in the past. "I'm not an expert in the way of tea. I just try it when I'm free." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Who would believe that? If it was just for fun, why would he build such a huge tea garden? Qin Feiyang looked at Pei Tianhong and smiled, "Pei Tianhong, I'll call you Old Pei from now on. As long as you're happy." Pei Tianhong was stunned. He lowered his head and sipped his tea. Qin Feiyang smiled and asked, "Back then, when the ice dragon found you and asked you to deal with us, what promise did it make to you?" "It was the ice dragon sacred sword and the dragon god sword. It promised to give these 2 Dominator divine weapons to us after it's done. You know how important the Dominator divine weapons are to us. I also thought that it would be easy to deal with a few people from the lower worlds, so I agreed to it. But now that I think about it, I was really stupid. If it was willing to sacrifice 2 Dominator divine weapons, how could you be ordinary people?" Pei Tianhong was vexed. When he saw how terrifying Qin Feiyang and the others were, it was too late to regret. Because he was already on the Ice Dragon's pirate ship. If he regretted midway, not only Qin Feiyang, but even the Ice Dragon wouldn't let him go. "It didn't mention the Black Tortoise world?" Qin Feiyang asked. "It did." Pei Tianhong nodded, then shook his head, but I don't dare to touch the black tortoise world. Even if I kill you, I'll have to give it to it. That's true. In terms of value, a Dominator divine weapon can't compare to a world. Actually, you can see what kind of person the ice dragon is. It was willing to give you 2 Dominator divine weapons, let alone people like you. So if you follow it, you'll be abandoned sooner or later, just like the Ice Dragon God's sword and the Sky Dragon God's sword. Qin Feiyang said. Qin Feiyang had already said this when they were outside, but because he was afraid and angry, he didn't think too much about it. But now that he thought about it carefully, he felt that it made sense. If you follow me, although it'll be dangerous, at least I won't abandon you. This is the character of Qin Feiyang. I'll never abandon my companions and escape alone. Maybe you won't believe it now, but you'll see when you get along with me. Qin Feiyang smiled. I hope so. The Blood Hall Master muttered. To be honest, he still didn't believe it. After living for so many years, he had never seen such a person. Chapter 33-54. After Qin Feiyang and Pei Tianhong finished talking, the third commander could no longer hold back his curiosity. He looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, Young master, may I ask, what kind of elixir did Wang Changyuan and the rest take? The second commander and the others, as well as Pei Tianhong, all raised their heads to look at Qin Feiyang. That is the elixir that opens the door of potential. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. So, the first volume of the alchemy scripture is in your hands? The third commander was surprised. I don't know if this is the first volume of the alchemy scripture, as I found these elixir recipes in the lower world. Qin Feiyang shook his head. But suddenly, he was slightly stunned. In fact, he could tell. Qin Feiyang looked at Pei Tianhong and asked, Do you have the second volume of the alchemy scripture? Yes. Pei Tianhong nodded and took out a handwritten letter and handed it to Qin Feiyang. Handwritten letter? Qin Feiyang caught the scroll in his hand with a dumbfounded look on his face. He slowly opened the scroll and saw the pill formulas for the Dragon Phoenix Divine Pill. Although the handwritten letter was very old, the handwriting was completely different from the one in the alchemy scripture. Qin Feiyang looked at Pei Tianhong and asked, Is this the original copy of the second volume of the alchemy scripture? No. This is the handwritten letter that I copied. The original copy of the second volume of the alchemy scripture is in the Sky Hall. Pei Tianhong said. Sky Hall? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. The Sky Hall was in the North Continent. It was impossible for them to make a trip there just to confirm the second volume of the alchemy scripture. But I have seen the original copy of the second volume of the alchemy scripture. Pei Tianhong spoke again. Yes. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and quickly asked, Do you still remember the words on it? Pei Tianhong thought for a while and nodded. I have some impression. Qin Feiyang immediately looked at Xingde and said, Prepare the brush and ink. Boss Xing put down his teacup, took out a brush, ink, paper, and inkstone and placed them in front of Pei Tianhong. Qin Feiyang said, Imitate the original font. Don't make too many characters, just a dozen or so will do. Pei Tianhong held the pen and pondered for a while. Then, he waved the pen and started writing slowly. Very soon. Pei Tianhong looked at Qin Feiyang after those words appeared. Qin Feiyang nodded. Pei Tianhong put down the pen, picked up the paper, and handed it to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang held the paper with both hands and carefully looked at the words on it. Then, he recalled the words on the pill mantra. When the two words overlapped, it was indeed somewhat similar. Furthermore, the 6-word divine chant was also created by the god of creation, and the words were similar to what Pei Tianhong was imitating. After a long time, Qin Feiyang put down the paper and picked up the teacup. He sipped the tea and pondered. Xingde, Pei Tianhong, and the others kept looking at him. After a while, Qin Feiyang looked up at them and smiled. I can basically confirm that the pill mantra in my hand is the first volume of the pill mantra, and it's the original. The group of people looked at each other. No wonder they couldn't find the first volume of the pill mantra in the sky cloud realm. It turned out that it ran to the lower realm. But who created this pill mantra? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. The group of people shook their heads. Who knew? But it should be a great figure. The god of creation. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. What? The god of creation. The group of people suddenly stood up, their faces full of shock. That's right. Do you know who created the 6-word divine chant, which is the slaughter domain? Qin Feiyang asked again. Pei Tianhong pondered for a while and looked up at Qin Feiyang in shock, asking, is it also the god of creation? Yes. Even the ancient castle should be built by the god of creation. Qin Feiyang nodded. This, Pei Tianhong and the others were dumbfounded. The ancient castle, the 6-word divine chant, they all belong to the god of creation? But why would it be in Qin Feiyang's hands? Could it be that Qin Feiyang is related to the god of creation? No, no, no. It should be that Qin Feiyang was lucky and got something from the god of creation. You are really lucky. Pei Tianhong shook his head, his eyes full of envy. Luck? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Yes. To be able to get something from the god of creation, how can my luck be bad? Pei Tianhong said. No, no, no. The ancient castle, the 6-word divine chant, and the Chang Shui, that was snatched by small beast, they all came with me when I was born. Qin Feiyang shook his head. What? Came with you? This time, Pei Tianhong and the others couldn't stay calm. What was going on? How could such a terrifying divine chant and divine artifact come with him? This was simply strange. Xingde looked at Qin Feiyang in shock and asked, Young master, are you the reincarnation of the god of creation? The reincarnation of the god of creation? Qin Feiyang was stunned and smiled bitterly. How is that possible? If not, then how do you explain what you said? Xingde was suspicious. I can't explain it clearly. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled bitterly. It doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. You are the reincarnation of the god of creation, right? But you don't look like it. Because if you are really the reincarnation of the god of creation, then small beast and ice dragon wouldn't dare to do this to you. But if you are not related to the god of creation, then the ancient castle, the 6-word divine chant, and the Chang Shui, these divine artifacts that came with you, can't be explained. Strange, really strange. Xingde shook his head and couldn't figure it out. I know. The second commander suddenly yelled. What do you know? Xingde, Pei Tianhong, and the others looked at him suspiciously. The second commander looked around cautiously and said in a low voice, I think that the young master is the illegitimate son of the god of creation. What the hell? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Xingde, Pei Tianhong, and the others were also stunned. Look, the god of creation is also a human, right? Humans have emotions and desires. I think that the god of creation met a new woman outside and accidentally got her pregnant. However, he didn't dare to tell his first wife, so he sent her to the lower world and got the ancient castle and Chang Shui to protect her. The second commander's analysis was very logical. Xingde, Pei Tianhong, and the others almost believed him. Xingde was still mumbling at the side. So the god of creation is also afraid of his wife. Qin Feiyang's face darkened. He said angrily, my parents are both in the lower world and they are still alive. Young master, it's possible that they are just your adoptive parents. The second commander thought for a while and looked at Qin Feiyang seriously. It's getting more and more ridiculous, right? Qin Feiyang said angrily. Seeing this, the second commander quickly waved his hand and said, No, no. Young master, please don't be angry. I'm just guessing. Yes, it's just a guess. Don't take it seriously. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled bitterly. This person's imagination was really rich. Xingde pondered for a while and looked at Qin Feiyang. Young master, the second commander's words are not without reason. What if your current parents are really your adoptive parents? You've been brainwashed too? Qin Feiyang was helpless. He didn't know that the second commander had the ability to brainwash. Xingde asked, Then have you confirmed your parentage with your current parents? For example, a blood test. This. I haven't. Qin Feiyang shook his head. That's right. It might be possible. Xingde smiled. Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. He shook his head and said, It will never be possible because the bloodline power is the best proof. Bloodline power? Xingde was stunned. My bloodline power is very special. If it's not my biological child, it definitely won't be there. Qin Feiyang smiled. Special? Not only Xingde, but Pei Tianhong and the others also looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. During the battle, Qin Feiyang also bled, but they didn't see anything special. Enough. What illegitimate child? What reincarnation of the god of creation? It's impossible. Let's stop this topic here. If the discussion continued like this, who knew what these people would say? As for the purple gold dragon blood's bloodline power, Qin Feiyang didn't mention it. Although the purple gold dragon blood's bloodline power was known by everyone in the Great Qin, Forgotten Continent, an ancient realm, it was still considered a secret in the Sky Cloud realm. The group returned to the stone bench. Although they didn't say anything, they were all secretly pondering in their hearts. If it was really as the second commander said, Qin Feiyang was the illegitimate child of the god of creation, or the reincarnation of the god of creation, then it would be a blessing in disguise. They would have found a powerful backer. Old Pei. Qin Feiyang suddenly looked at Pei Tianhong. Pei Tianhong was slightly stunned. He raised his head and looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Although I've forgiven you, you still need to give me an explanation for what you've done in the past. The Sword Emperor was my ancestor's subordinate. The Mermaid Emperor, White-Winged Emperor, and Black-Winged Emperor were not only my ancestor's subordinates, but also my wife's ancestor. So, you need to obtain their forgiveness before I can truly accept you. Qin Feiyang said. Hearing this, Pei Tianhong sighed. I guessed that this matter wouldn't end so easily. After speaking, he raised his head and drank the tea in his cup. Looking at Qin Feiyang, he stood up and said, Where are they now? Qin Feiyang looked at Xingde and said, Bring him there. Xingde nodded and stood up. Looking at Pei Tianhong, he said, Follow me. Pei Tianhong took a step forward and followed Xingde to a courtyard not far away. Looking at Pei Tianhong's back, a trace of worry crept into the eyes of the 9 commanders. Don't worry. The 4 of them are all reasonable people. They won't mind. In other words, this is just a formality to make them feel slightly better. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. So magnanimous? The 9 commanders expressed their doubts. You guys have been living in an environment of mutual deception for too long. When you see a person, you feel that there's something fishy about the other party. It's not trustworthy and you have to be wary. However, that's not the case. There are still many good people in this world. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He then picked up the teacup and tasted it himself. The 9 commanders looked at Pei Tianhong again. After a moment of silence, they suddenly mustered their courage and looked at Qin Feiyang. Young master, can you help us open the door of potential? Of course. As long as the people and beasts who are with me, they have already opened the door of potential. For example, Xingde. Qin Feiyang nodded. Thank you, young master. The 9 of them were overjoyed. They didn't expect Qin Feiyang to be so straightforward. But, Qin Feiyang smiled again. But? The 9 of them were stunned. Their excited mood was like a basin of cold water being poured down, instantly disappearing. It will depend on your performance. After Qin Feiyang finished his words, he went silent. When the 9 of them heard this, they couldn't help but feel relieved. As long as it wasn't a rejection, it was fine. As for performance, they were still very confident about this. After all, even Wang Chongyuan and those dark guards could do it, let alone them. Chapter 33:55. After a while, Pei Tianhong and Xingde returned. The 9 commanders looked at Pei Tianhong and asked, "We didn't make things difficult for you, did we?" "No." Pei Tianhong shook his head and said, "This matter is over, don't mention it again." "That's good." The 9 commanders sighed in relief. Although they didn't torture the Sword Emperor and the other 3, they were all deacons of the Blood Hall, so they were also responsible. If the Sword Emperor and the other 3 couldn't forgive Pei Tianhong, they might hate them too. This was bad for their future development. Because the 4 of them had a deep relationship with Qin Feiyang. If Qin Feiyang had to choose, he would definitely choose the 4 of them. This was what they were worried about. But luckily, as Qin Feiyang said, the 4 of them were very magnanimous people. About half an hour passed. Boom! Somewhere in the Devil's Land, a terrifying aura exploded. Immediately after, the void above collapsed, turning into ice crystals and condensing into a giant wolf hundreds of feet long, emitting a monstrous aura. This is, Qin Feiyang, Pei Tianhong, the 9 commanders, Xingde, and Wang Chongyuan all looked up, their eyes filled with shock. In short, other than those who left the Devil's Land, almost everyone ran out and looked at this scene in shock. What is this? It seems to be the aura of the white-eyed wolf. Could it be that it has plundered some terrifying profound meaning again? Wang Xiaojie, Long Tianyu, and Qin Chen stood together, looking at the giant wolf with fear. The 3 of them weren't weak, they had all reached the greater success imperishable realm. However, just the aura emitted by the ice crystal wolf was enough to make them feel despair. Pei Tianhong took a deep breath, looking at the suspicious Qin Feiyang, he explained, "This is the profound meaning of the spacetime law, heart's will." Heart's will? Qin Feiyang froze. That's right. The profound meaning of the spacetime law is to use spacetime as the foundation to evolve various forms of objects. In short, shattering spacetime, using spacetime fragments as an attack. For example, if you think of a sword in your heart, then this spacetime fragment can transform into an ice crystal sword. By the same logic, if you think of an arrow in your heart, then it can become an arrow. Pei Tianhong said. In other words, the spacetime fragment will become whatever I think of? Qin Feiyang asked. Yes. This is the so-called heart following one's wishes. Pei Tianhong nodded. No wonder, Qin Feiyang mumbled. Whether it was Chu Yun or the Alliance Master, when they activated the supreme profound meaning, sometimes it was a sword, sometimes it was a large number of arrows, and sometimes it was something else. It turned out that they moved according to their thoughts. Little Qin Zi, take this. The white-eyed wolf soared into the sky in high spirits. His cultivation had also reached the early stage of the sovereign realm. He lowered his head and looked at Qin Feiyang, his eyes filled with provocation. Take this? Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. What kind of joke was this? With his cultivation at the early stage of the sovereign realm and the supreme profound meaning of the supreme profound meaning, the white-eyed wolf could even instantly kill an ordinary peak sovereign realm expert, let alone him. I knew you wouldn't dare. The white-eyed wolf laughed proudly. He glanced at another courtyard and chuckled. Little madman, come out and fight with me. The madman was sitting in the pavilion, drinking tea and chatting with Xiaofan while cultivating their relationship. How could he be in the mood to care about the white-eyed wolf? However, there was a fundamental difference between the madman and Xiaofan and Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess. Boring. The white-eyed wolf pursed his lips. This guy is a little arrogant. Qin Feiyang's face darkened. He looked at Pei Tianhong and said, Old Pei, extinguish his arrogance. Pei Tianhong nodded. He activated instant time and instantly appeared in front of the white-eyed wolf. The law of time surged out and punched at the white-eyed wolf. Boom! The white-eyed wolf shattered. Damn you! I didn't look for you. What are you doing here? The white-eyed wolf was instantly enraged. It's the young master's order. Pei Tianhong said expressionlessly and returned to the tea garden. The white-eyed wolf was unhappy. He landed in front of Qin Feiyang and said angrily, You don't dare to fight, so you let little Pei do it. What's the point? Little Pei? Pei Tianhong's mouth twitched. What kind of name was this? It made him sound like a eunuch. If I also grasped 3 supreme profound meanings, do you think I wouldn't dare to come? Let's talk about it later. When I activated the slaughter zone, why didn't I see you clamoring? Qin Feiyang coldly rolled his eyes. The slaughter zone is so ridiculous. Would I dare to clamor with you? The white-eyed wolf smiled embarrassedly. Then why are you still clamoring? Qin Feiyang glared at him fiercely. He looked up at Pei Tianhong and asked, Other than Heavenly Palace, Divine Palace, Rogue Cultivator Alliance, and Demon Palace, do you know anyone else who has grasped the supreme profound meanings of the supreme profound meanings? When the ingrate heard this, he immediately stared at Pei Tianhong. Now, he had grasped the time law, space law, and death law. And to break through to the perfection dominator realm, he still had to plunder 3 supreme profound meanings. Demon Palace and Rogue Cultivator Alliance were friends, so they naturally wouldn't look for these people. As for Heavenly Palace and Divine Palace, they were not to be trifled with, but they could still consider it. However, it would be best if there was someone who was alone. When Pei Tianhong heard this, he shook his head without even thinking. No, those who have grasped the supreme profound meanings of the supreme profound meanings are all in our 5 forces. My head hurts. Qin Feiyang rubbed his forehead. The white-eyed wolf couldn't help but frown. After pondering for a while, he asked, What supreme profound meaning does the great elder of Demon Palace have grasped? Pei Tianhong said, He grasped the destruction law. Destruction law? The white-eyed wolf was stunned. Yes. Pei Tianhong nodded and explained, the destruction law is also one of the strongest laws. Its destructive power is extremely shocking. It is said that the destruction law's ultimate profound can directly destroy the sky cloud realm. Of course, if it is the ultimate profound, not only the destruction law, but other strongest laws can also do it. So strong? The white-eyed wolf's eyes flickered. The Demon Palace's palace master grasped the karma law, while the Blood Palace's great elder grasped the destruction law. If it could seize these 2 types of law energies, it would be able to step into the perfect sovereign realm. At that time, even a perfect sovereign realm expert would be like an ant in front of it. It could crush the perfect sovereign realm expert with just a flick of its finger. What are you thinking? Let me tell you, don't even think about the Demon Palace's palace master and great elder. Qin Feiyang stared at the white-eyed wolf. The white-eyed wolf smiled embarrassedly and looked at Pei Tianhong. What about the Sky Hall and Deities Hall? There are many of them. For example, the Destruction Law, Life Law, Death Law, and Nothingness Law. Pei Tianhong said. Nothingness Law? The white-eyed wolf was slightly stunned and turned to look at Qin Feiyang. He asked, Lu Zhengyang seems to have grasped the Nothingness Law, right? Qin Feiyang nodded. What? You also have someone who grasps the Nothingness Law here? Pei Tianhong asked. Yes. I have an ancestor, but he is not in the Black Tortoise world right now. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Pei Tianhong and the 9 deacons looked at each other, their eyes filled with shock. Not to mention the white-eyed wolf, just Qin Feiyang and the others. Qin Feiyang, Karma Law. Mermaid Princess, Life Law. Lunatic, Death Law. Qin Badian, Space and Time Law. Fire Lotus, Time Array. Lu Zhengyang, Nothingness Law. There were actually 6 people who had comprehended the strongest law. This was indeed a group of perverts. It seems that sooner or later, we will have to make a trip to Sky Palace or Deity Palace. The white-eyed wolf laughed. Let's talk about it when we have the chance. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. At the moment, he did not want to provoke Sky Palace and Deity Palace. Besides, Sky Palace and Deity Palace did not show any hostility to him. If he took the initiative to provoke them now, wouldn't that be deliberately causing trouble? Swish! At this time, Wang Chongyuan broke through the air and landed in front of Qin Feiyang. His entire person looked radiant and energetic. He bowed and said, Greetings, young master. How does it feel to open all the doors of potential? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. Very good. Even my fire law's supreme profound meaning has begun to show signs of loosening. Wang Chongyuan was overjoyed. All these years, he had been comprehending the supreme profound meaning of the fire law, and through unremitting efforts, he had reached the last step. But it was this last step that had been stuck for tens of thousands of years. Now, when he opened all the doors of potential, he immediately felt that he seemed to have comprehended something. Then do your best. Mastering 2 supreme profound meanings, even if it's not the strongest law, no one can shake your position as the commander. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. This subordinate will definitely not disappoint young master. Wang Chongyuan bowed and said with a firm expression. As long as he comprehended 2 supreme profound meanings, his strength would increase by leaps and bounds. The 9 deacons could only obey him obediently. Have you counted the number of people? Qin Feiyang asked. I've already counted them. There are 5,200 dark guards. There are 743 high-level, mid-level, and low-level managers. In addition to the 57 dark guards that followed you previously, there are a total of 6,000 people. That's right, exactly 6,000. Wang Chongyuan said. So many managers? The white-eyed wolf was stunned. That's for sure. After all, there are more than 10 million disciples in the Blood Hall. If there are too few managers, then these managers will die of exhaustion. Wang Chongyuan smiled. 6,000 people, all of them great perfection sovereigns. There's also little Pei, little Wang, and these 9 idiotic commanders, interesting. Now, our foundation shouldn't be any weaker than those super forces. The white-eyed wolf looked at Qin Feiyang and grinned. There's still a gap. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. Although he had 6,000 great perfection sovereigns under his command, only the 10 commanders, Pei Tianhong and Wang Chongyuan were truly powerful. Because in the great perfection sovereign realm, it wasn't enough to have more law power. One also had to have supreme profound meanings. As for the Devil Hall and other super forces, they basically had 4 sovereigns with supreme profound meanings. However, he only had Pei Tianhong. Therefore, without the sovereign divine weapon, there was still a huge gap between them and the Devil Hall and other super forces. Chapter 3356. It doesn't matter if there's a gap. After all, we still have the sovereign divine weapon. The white-eyed wolf chuckled and asked, then, what do you want to do with these people? Although the Devil's Land is much bigger than before, if they all stay here, I'm afraid that this place will become a mess. I've already considered this point. I'm planning to send them to the Central Oblast. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Central Oblast? The white-eyed wolf was stunned for a moment before nodding. That's right, that's right. Anyway, the Central Oblast is empty. Qin Feiyang looked at Wang Chongyuan and ordered, take them to the Central Oblast to settle them down. Also, tell them not to step into the Devil's Land without my permission. Yes. Wang Chongyuan nodded respectfully. Qin Feiyang then looked at the 9 great commanders and smiled faintly, you all can go to the Central Oblast as well. Of course, whether it's you or Wang Chongyuan, if you have any problems, you can come to the Devil's Land to find me. Yes. The 9 great commanders responded respectfully. They were quite relieved. Because this was equivalent to having a pass to enter and exit the Devil's Land freely. Although the Black Tortoise world had several forbidden areas, and under the Fire Lotus's purposeful arrangements, they were more dangerous than before. However, the Devil's Land was undoubtedly the true forbidden area. Ordinary people couldn't enter at all. Therefore, to the Black Tortoise world's living beings, the Devil's Land was a place of reverence and yearning. Also, I've said before that the Blood Hall's administrator no longer exists. Now, there are only dark guards. Qin Feiyang spoke again. Understood. Wang Chongyuan and the other 9 nodded. Then go. Also, tell Fu Chen to come see me. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. The 10 great commanders turned and left, leaving only Qin Feiyang, the white-eyed wolf, and Pei Tianhong. In fact, Pei Tianhong didn't want to stay by Qin Feiyang's side at all because he was basically a personal bodyguard. On the other hand, Qin Feiyang definitely couldn't stay in the Black Tortoise world forever. As long as Qin Feiyang left the Black Tortoise world and appeared in front of others, people would definitely talk about him if they saw him, the Blood Hall's Hall Master, following Qin Feiyang closely. Just thinking about it made him a little scared. How could Qin Feiyang not see through Pei Tianhong's inner thoughts? He smiled faintly. Old Pei, I'm actually giving you a chance. Give me a chance? Pei Tianhong was stunned. Yeah. If you stay by my side, you'll have more opportunities to perform. In that case, you'll be able to unlock the door of potential before the others. Think about it. If you can comprehend a few more supreme profundities, in addition to the supreme profundities of the laws of time that you already possess, how strong would you be? Qin Feiyang chuckled. Pei Tianhong's heart skipped a beat. If that was the case, then he could easily crush people like Elder Hua and the Devil Hall's Hall Master. You have to cherish it. It's a rare opportunity. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Pei Tianhong pondered for a while and sighed. Alright, I'll work hard. Yeah. That's the attitude you should have. Don't think that following me is a disgrace. I'm not bragging, but once the potential elixir is exposed, the number of people who will take the initiative to follow me will definitely line up from the western mainland to the eastern mainland. Qin Feiyang smiled. That's true, but it'll also be coveted by others. Pei Tianhong said. Now that I have 2 Dominator divine weapons in the slaughter zone, other than the Ice Dragon and the Small Beast, who am I afraid of? Sky Hall, Deity's Hall? To be honest, I can't wait for them to find trouble with me. That way, I'll have an excuse to attack them openly and fulfill the white-eyed wolf's wish. Qin Feiyang smiled. Pei Tianhong's heart skipped a beat. Sure enough, he still targeted Sky Hall and Deities Hall. He only hoped that the two forces would be tactful, otherwise, sooner or later, they would follow in the footsteps of their Blood Hall. Schwa. Before his voice faded, the horsetail whisk appeared beside Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang smiled. You're a Dominator divine weapon, there's no need for you to go to the land of source. From now on, you'll follow old Pei and never leave my side. Okay. The horsetail whisk responded and then disappeared into Qin Feiyang's body. Let's go. Qin Feiyang put down the teacup and got up and smiled at Pei Tianhong and the white-eyed wolf. Where are we going? Pei Tianhong was stunned and quickly got up and asked. We're going to Sky Cloud Island to visit Big Brother, then we'll go to the Yin Demon Land. Qin Feiyang smiled. Big Brother? Pei Tianhong was stunned. Sky Cloud Realm isn't that little rabbit's territory? Qin Dage, but at this moment, Yueqing and Yi Miao ran over. Qin Feiyang looked at the two suspiciously. The two ran in front of Qin Feiyang and looked at the obedient Pei Tianhong. In their hearts, they admired Qin Feiyang to the extreme. Not only did he destroy the Blood Hall, but he also subdued an expert like the Blood Hall Master. Especially Yi Miao, she rejoiced. Fortunately, she didn't listen to Pei Tianhong's instigation and cooperate with the Blood Hall. Otherwise, not only the Blood Hall, but she would also be a prisoner. No. The reason why Pei Tianhong was still alive was because Qin Feiyang valued his strength. But what about her? Except for the Heavenly Joy Building, she had nothing. And in truth, the Heavenly Joy Building wasn't hers because it was built by Yueqing. Yueqing looked at Qin Feiyang and smiled. Qin Dage, we're going back to the Eastern Continent. Can you send us back? Sure. Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. There's one more thing. Look, you've already let the Rogue Cultivator Alliance take over the Western Continent. Should the Heavenly Joy Building, at this point, Yueqing didn't continue because she knew Qin Feiyang would definitely understand what she meant. Her eyes were filled with anticipation. About this, Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and smiled. You don't have to look for me. Just look for the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. Thank you, Qin Dage. The two of them were overjoyed. Although Qin Feiyang didn't say it explicitly, it was obvious what he meant. As for the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, because of their relationship with Qin Feiyang, they would definitely not reject them. Although I'm not against it, you have to be sensible. Whether it's the Demonic Hall in the Eastern Continent or the Rogue Cultivator Alliance in the Western Continent, I personally think that you should share some benefits with them. After all, there's a saying that a win-win situation is the best situation. Qin Feiyang added. The two girls were stunned for a moment before they understood what Qin Feiyang meant. They said gratefully, thank you, Qin Dage, for your reminder. When the time comes, we'll definitely take the initiative to look for the Demonic Hall and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance to discuss the distribution of benefits. Although the Heavenly Joy Building would earn less if they shared a portion of the benefits with the Demonic Hall and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, what Qin Feiyang said made sense. The Heavenly Joy Building would only be able to develop smoothly if they were on good terms with the Demonic Hall and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. They would just treat it as paying protection fees. Besides, there was another benefit. After paying protection fees, it would mean that they would have two backers in the future. Qin Feiyang was also very satisfied with the attitude of Yueqing and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. There was a saying that went, if there's sacrifice, there's gain. One couldn't only know how to take but not give. In this world, there weren't that many kind-hearted people who would help you selflessly. Swoosh. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and appeared in the sky above the Blood Hall with the three of them and the white-eyed wolf. The battle waves had yet to calm down. No one and no ferocious beast dared to approach this place. Therefore, other than Qin Feiyang and the others, the other living beings in the western continent still didn't know who had won the battle. Qin Feiyang glanced around and looked at the white-eyed wolf. Send them back to the eastern continent. The white-eyed wolf waved its claws and the space-time laws emerged. A space-time teleportation channel appeared. Thank you, Brother Wolf. The two girls obediently thanked the white-eyed wolf and turned to enter the space-time teleportation channel. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "It's so convenient to have the space-time laws." Of course. The white-eyed wolf smiled proudly. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and said angrily, "Can you not always look so arrogant? Without our help, would you have been able to integrate 3 supreme laws so quickly?" I know. I will remember your contributions in my heart and will definitely repay you in the future." The white-eyed wolf grinned and opened another space-time teleportation channel to Sky Cloud Island. Qin Feiyang shook his head helplessly and then walked in without looking back. Sky Cloud Island. It was as quiet and peaceful as ever, like a paradise. The little rabbit was lying on the top of the mountain, drinking the black tortoise divine brew, crossing its legs and looking at the sky leisurely. It was simply like a celestial being. Suddenly, a space-time channel appeared in front of it. The little rabbit looked at the space-time channel and then withdrew its gaze because it had sensed Qin Feiyang's aura. Qin Feiyang, the white-eyed wolf, and Pei Tianhong walked out of the space-time channel one after another. Big brother. Qin Feiyang waved at the little rabbit and smiled, then stepped in front of it. Is this the big brother he was talking about? Pei Tianhong was startled. The little rabbit glanced at Pei Tianhong and the white-eyed wolf, then looked at Qin Feiyang and nodded, "Not bad, you have a conscience. You came to visit Big Brother just after winning the Blood Hall. How do you know we won the Blood Hall?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. This little rabbit was on Sky Cloud Island, and the 9-Dragon Mountain Range was thousands of miles away. The battle fluctuations couldn't reach here at all. "Uncle Rabbit knows everything, there is nothing I don't know," the little rabbit said proudly. "All right." Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly, "But Big Brother, you are a little unreasonable." "How is it unreasonable?" The little rabbit was suspicious. "You are playing dumb. When we came to you for help, not only did you not help us, you even sent us to the Blood Hall's nest. If we didn't run fast enough, you would have helped us collect our corpses." Qin Feiyang was displeased. Resentment? The little rabbit glanced at Qin Feiyang. "Of course. We treated you as our big brother, but you cheated us like this. Doesn't your conscience hurt?" Qin Feiyang snorted coldly. "Conscience? Kid," Uncle Rabbit didn't want to say it. "I felt that it was unnecessary because it was a small matter. But with your current attitude, if Uncle Rabbit doesn't say it, you really don't know how much you owe me." The little rabbit's face darkened. Qin Feiyang was stunned and puzzled. "What do I owe you? Do you think you can beat Ice Dragon with your strength?" the little rabbit asked with disdain. "Huh?" Qin Feiyang looked at the little rabbit in a daze. Why did it suddenly mention Ice Dragon? Chapter 3357. Wait a minute. Could it be, suddenly? Qin Feiyang's eyes trembled as he looked at the little rabbit. The Ice Dragon appeared at that time? What do you think? If it wasn't for me, Uncle Rabbit, holding it back, would you be able to destroy the Blood Hall? Would you be able to subdue Pei Tianhong? The little rabbit sneered. This, Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other. The Ice Dragon actually appeared? They actually didn't notice it at all. Pei Tianhong clenched his fists. It turned out that the Ice Dragon had appeared, but it was held back by the little rabbit. In that case, the culprit was still this little rabbit. A wave of anger suddenly rose in his heart. Qin Feiyang noticed Pei Tianhong's abnormality and secretly glanced at him. He couldn't help but frown secretly. It seemed that it wasn't easy to make this person truly submit. What's wrong? Looking at your eyes, you seem to hate me? The little rabbit also noticed Pei Tianhong's abnormality and raised its head with a contemptuous smile. I hate you. Pei Tianhong didn't deny it, but there was a trace of helplessness on his face. So what if he hated him now? Being controlled by the slave seal, if Qin Feiyang was willing, he could even know what he was thinking. In such a situation, would he dare to rebel? Before he could take action, Qin Feiyang had already erased his soul. The little rabbit glanced at him indifferently and ignored him. It looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Do you still dare to talk about conscience with Uncle Rabbit now?" "I don't dare, I don't dare. I was wrong, I apologize to you." Qin Feiyang quickly smiled apologetically. Originally, the little rabbit was so concerned about him. Because if it didn't care, then it wouldn't have known that the ice dragon was coming, let alone help to hold it back. The little rabbit said aggrievedly, "Uncle Rabbit is sad now, you have to compensate." Compensate? Qin Feiyang was stunned, then patted his head and smiled, I understand, I understand." With that, he waved his hand and 1,000 jars of black tortoise divine wine appeared. So much? The little rabbit couldn't help but light up. Qin Feiyang went on, "In fact, the reason I came to Heavenly Cloud Island this time was to deliver the black tortoise divine brew to you." The little rabbit was stunned. She raised her head and looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Qin Feiyang smiled, "I'm preparing to go to the Yin Demon Land. I don't know when I'll come out, so before I leave, I came to give you some." "Why are we going to the Yin Devil Land?" The little rabbit frowned. "There's news of an enemy. It appeared in the Yin Devil Land, so I want to take a look." Qin Feiyang smiled. When Little Rabbit heard this, her eyes flashed slightly. She smiled and said, "Before you leave, you can still think of Uncle Rabbit. You do have some conscience." "Of course. I can forget anyone, but I can't forget you, Big Brother." "But Big Brother, you are really powerful. You even have the power to fight against the ice dragon." Qin Feiyang chuckled, his face full of admiration. "The power to fight?" Little Rabbit was stunned. She hurriedly waved her paws and said, "No, no, no, my strength is far from that of the ice dragon." Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other. Since there was such a huge difference, how did she hold back the ice dragon? "There are some things that you won't understand even if I tell you." Little Rabbit smiled mysteriously and then said, "But I'm curious. Why is the ice dragon targeting you?" "To be honest, I don't know either." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "Is there a need for you to be like this? If I don't agree, you won't answer me out of revenge?" Little Rabbit looked at Qin Feiyang unhappily. What a petty man. "No, no." Qin Feiyang hurriedly waved his hands and sighed, "I really don't know. I feel that it's weird. I'm not lying to you. If I lie to you, I'll die a horrible death." Looking at Qin Feiyang's serious attitude, Little Rabbit frowned. Even Qin Feiyang himself did not know. What secret was hidden within? Forget it. Let's not think about it anymore. Little Rabbit was also someone who did not want to find trouble for herself. She waved her claws and a space teleportation tunnel appeared. "Go, be careful." "I will." Qin Feiyang nodded his head and smiled. But looking at the space teleportation tunnel, he was a little hesitant. "What do you mean? You think that Big Brother will trick you again?" Little Rabbit raised her eyebrows. Cough, cough. Qin Feiyang coughed dryly and said with an embarrassed smile, "Once bitten, twice shy." Little Rabbit looked at Qin Feiyang with disdain, "Don't worry, I won't trick you this time." Plus, with Pei Tianhong here, even if I throw you into the center of the Yin Demon Land, you won't die. Qin Feiyang laughed dryly and looked at Pei Tianhong and the white-eyed wolf. Then let's go. One man and one wolf nodded. Then big brother, I'll go first. When I come out, I'll send you wine at the first moment. Qin Feiyang looked at Little Rabbit and said. Go, go. Little Rabbit waved her claws impatiently. Qin Feiyang smiled and led the white-eyed wolf and Pei Tianhong into the space teleportation tunnel. Yin Demon Land, Little Rabbit muttered to herself. Waiting until the teleportation tunnel disappeared, she took a sip of wine and sighed, Little brother, you can't be careless. Yin Demon Land is not as simple as everyone thinks. You might die inside. As for me, outside, I can still help you. But in the Sky Cloud domain, the 4 great forbidden lands, I'm powerless even if I want to. Saying this, she looked at the sky. Her eyes became incomparably deep, as if she could see through heaven and earth, looking at the scenery that others would never be able to see. Is it related to you? Eastern continent, south. A vast mountain range was located at the edge of the eastern continent. This was the Yin Demon Land. Giant peaks towered into the sky. The tallest one was hundreds of thousands of feet high, towering into the sky. It was almost impossible to see the peak of the mountain. In the mountains, old trees were entwined with vines. Each of the vines was thicker than a bucket and looked like a giant python. And on the ground, there was a thick pile of dead branches and rotten leaves. There was a strong rotten smell that was somewhat pungent. Moreover, there were rivers, swamps, and miasma in the forest. What was even stranger was that there were suns, moons, and stars in other places, but the Yin Demon Land sky was always incomparably dark. For example, at this moment. There was clearly a moon in the sky, but the Yin Demon Land sky was covered with dark clouds. Not to mention the moon, not even a single star could be found. As soon as one came here, they couldn't help but feel depressed and heavy. Because of this, the entire Yin Demon Land was very humid. There was even a gloomy feeling as if they had walked to the gates of hell. Suddenly, outside the Yin Demon Land, above a giant peak, 3 figures appeared out of thin air. It was Qin Feiyang, the white-eyed wolf, and Pei Tianhong. As soon as Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf appeared, they immediately looked around vigilantly. There were many fierce beasts below the mountain. The weakest aura was at the imperishable realm, and there were even a few peak dominator auras. This time, it really didn't trick you. The Yin Demon Land is in front. Pei Tianhong looked below and pointed at the Yin Demon Land in front of them. The man and wolf looked up, and their pupils shrank. Because they immediately noticed the abnormality in the sky above the Yin Demon Land. It's a bit strange. The white-eyed wolf frowned. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. He felt uneasy even before entering the Yin Demon Land. Pei Tianhong said, there's no essence in the Yin Demon Land. No essence? Qin Feiyang stilled. Yes. None at all. So normally, when people enter the Yin Demon Land, they will prepare large amounts of God power pills and God crystals. Of course. For Dominator Realm cultivators like us, it's not a threat. After all, we're using profundities, unlike those imperishable realm cultivators who can only rely on God power to fight. Pei Tianhong said. That's true. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf nodded. Without spiritual essence, it was a place that couldn't be easily entered by creatures below the imperishable realm. However, there are still things that can threaten us. For example, we can't activate spatial divine items in the Yin Demon Land. Pei Tianhong said. We can't activate spatial divine items? Qin Feiyang stilled and asked suspiciously, then can we enter the Black Tortoise world? I don't know. After all, the Black Tortoise world is a world. We'll only know once we enter. Other than that, there's a mysterious power in the Yin demon land. Pei Tianhong's pupils shrank as he said this. It seemed that even he was wary of it. Mysterious power? Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf exchanged glances, then looked at Pei Tianhong, waiting for him to continue. That's right. This power is extremely evil. Not only can it erode a living being's physical body, but it can also erode God power and divine soul. The scariest thing is that once this evil power enters the body, it's very difficult to expel it. Even if it's refined, it'll take a very long time. Pei Tianhong said in a low voice. The white-eyed wolf frowned and said, Little Qin Zi, why does this sound so similar to the evil power? I think so too. Qin Feiyang nodded. However, they didn't find any blood mist in the Yin demon land like the one in Fallen Valley. Who cares? Let's go in and take a look. The white-eyed wolf scanned the Yin demon land and gritted his teeth. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded. The man and the wolf stepped forward and landed in front of the boundary between the Yin demon land and the outside world. Pei Tianhong also followed. He scanned the two sides and waved his hand, sending out a blast of God power toward a bush on the left. Boom! The bush was blown away, and a 1-meter-tall stone tablet immediately appeared in front of Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf. The stone tablet was pure white. Even though it had been standing there for a long time, there wasn't a speck of dust on it. Instead, it glowed with a hazy God power. However, there were 2 lines of words on the stone tablet. 9 deaths, Yin demon land. Every word seemed to be condensed from blood, as if they were written by a demon king. They emitted a terrifying murderous aura, and every stroke seemed to contain an invisible killing intent. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf's divine souls trembled uncontrollably when they saw the words. This was a kind of fear. It was a kind of fear that came from the depths of their souls. The more they tried to suppress it, the stronger the fear became. Chapter 33:58. Pei Tianhong glanced at the stone tablet and retracted his gaze. To him, everything in the Yin demon land was naturally no stranger. He looked at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf and said indifferently, although the Yin demon land is dangerous, there is also an advantage, that is, you can leave at any time. Qin Feiyang heard this, took a deep breath, and stepped into the Yin demon land. Immediately, he felt a mysterious force rushing into his body through the pores of his body. Just as Pei Tianhong said, this force had the ability to erode divine power and divine soul. Strange, Qin Feiyang carefully sensed for a moment. A trace of suspicion crept up between his brows, and then he mobilized his divine power to form a barrier. But this barrier did not have any effect, as if it existed in vain, completely unable to block the mysterious force. So ridiculous? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and activated the power of law, forming a lightning barrier. The mysterious force was immediately blocked outside. It works. This result made Qin Feiyang quite happy, as long as the power of law could block the mysterious force. But before he could turn around and tell the white-eyed wolf, his body suddenly stiffened, and he glanced at the barrier in surprise. He found that the mysterious force in the surroundings was silently eroding the barrier. What's the situation? Even the power of law can be eroded? This made Qin Feiyang extremely surprised. Eroding divine power and divine soul was still acceptable, because this had happened many times before, but this eroding power of law seemed a bit too ridiculous. In other words, this mysterious force, there was nothing that could block it. It's a bit difficult. Qin Feiyang frowned and prepared to try to enter the Black Tortoise world. Relatively speaking, whether or not he could enter the Black Tortoise world was more important. Because if he could enter the Black Tortoise world, then he could go to the Black Tortoise world to take refuge in a fatal crisis. On the contrary, if he could not enter the Black Tortoise world, then he had to be mentally prepared to deal with everything. But, not to mention entering the Black Tortoise world, he couldn't even contact the Black Tortoise world. It was as if there was something between him and the Black Tortoise world. Qin Feiyang frowned and pondered for a while before saying, "Horsetail Whisk, try to see if you can isolate this mysterious power." "I've already tried. The mysterious power here can not only erode the souls of humans, it can also erode the artifact spirits of divine artifacts. However, in comparison, the threat it poses to sovereign weapons is much smaller." The artifact spirit's voice echoed in Qin Feiyang's mind. Hearing this, Qin Feiyang decisively left the Yin Devil land. "How is it?" White-Eyed Wolf asked. "Not good." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "Of course, they could enter. Although this mysterious energy could corrode one's divine soul, the corrosive speed was not very fast. It was the same as the ordinary evil energy in the Nether King's Hell. Nether King, Hell, and two other types of evil power. One was the evil power that pervaded the entire Nether King's Hell. The threat of this evil power was relatively small. After accumulating for a while, they could find time to refine it. The other was the evil power in the Fallen Valley. The evil power in the Fallen Valley could not be blocked by anyone other than a madman, not even the Blood Demon tribe. "What about the Black Tortoise world?" White-Eyed Wolf frowned. "I can't enter. In short, this place is similar to the Nether King's Hell," Qin Feiyang said and began to refine the mysterious power in his body. "Wait. The aura of this mysterious power seemed to be similar to the evil power? Was it an illusion? Could it be the evil power too?" However, after careful analysis, it seemed to be somewhat different from the evil power in the Nether King's Hell. After about a few hundred breaths, the mysterious power in his body was finally refined. He had only been in there for a short while, but the mysterious power that had entered his body took so long to refine. How could he continue to stay in there? "After entering the Yin Devil land, I have to stop every hour to refine the mysterious power in my body. Otherwise, the mysterious power will directly threaten my divine soul," Pei Tianhong said. "You can stop and refine it in an hour?" White-Eyed Wolf was speechless. How could he find the fire dragon if he had to stop and walk like this? Pei Tianhong saw through White-Eyed Wolf's thoughts and shook his head. "Although it's a bit of a waste of time, there's no other way. I remember that in the Nether King's Hell, would usually travel during the day and refine the evil power at night. Now, I have to refine it every hour. This Yin Devil land is really difficult." Qin Feiyang was helpless. "Evil power?" Pei Tianhong was stunned. "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded and scanned the Yin Devil land. "It's similar to here. The mysterious power here is called the Yin Devil power. Evil power, Yin Devil power. Could there be any connection between the two?" Pei Tianhong frowned. "Connection?" Qin Feiyang was stunned and immediately thought of the madman. Although only a short while had passed outside, many days had passed in the Black Tortoise world. At this moment, on the balcony on the second floor, the madman and Zhuo Xiaoxian were leaning against each other and their fingers were tightly intertwined. One was handsome, the other fair and beautiful. They leaned against each other and looked at the scenery, like a pair of immortal couples. Their love was deep. The madman lowered his head and looked at Zhuo Xiaoxian in his arms. He couldn't help but lower his head and kiss Zhuo Xiaoxian's red lips. Zhuo Xiaoxian didn't resist. But at this moment, the madman suddenly disappeared. Zhuo Xiaoxian leaned on the madman and was caught off guard. She lost her balance and fell to the wooden floor. She was stunned. What was going on? Where was he? Outside. The madman looked at Qin Feiyang and the White-Eyed Wolf with a confused expression. He was planning to be intimate and improve their relationship. Why did he suddenly run out? What are you doing? Qin Feiyang raised his arm and waved it in front of the madman's eyes. The madman was stunned. When he came back to his senses, he roared angrily, "I should be the one asking you that. What are you doing?" Qin Feiyang looked at him suspiciously. He didn't realize that he had ruined the madman's good thing. Your ass." The madman glared at Qin Feiyang. He was extremely angry. Couldn't he tell him in advance before he came out? Annoying. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other. Was this guy crazy? Why did you ask me to come out? Tell me. The madman looked at Qin Feiyang in annoyance. Qin Feiyang really didn't understand. He was simply baffled. He said, "Look at this demon land." The madman was slightly stunned. He turned around and looked at the demon land. His eyes were filled with suspicion. He asked, "Is this the demon land?" "Yes." "Go in and take a look," Qin Feiyang said. The madman heard this and frowned. "Is there something weird?" "You will know once you go in." Qin Feiyang pushed the madman in. The madman wanted to be angry, but when he sensed the demon power, he was stunned. What power was this? It was similar to the evil power? Wait. Suddenly, the madman looked into the depths of the demon land. His eyes were filled with shock. Why was there such a close call? Chapter 33:59. Illusion. It had to be an illusion. He shook his head and carefully sensed. Not only did the strange summoning not disappear, it became even stronger. What was going on? He had never been to the demon land before, so how could something summon him? Not only that, but the devil land also gave him a sense of familiarity. How do you feel? Because the madman's back was facing Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf, the two people and the wolf did not see the expression on his face. Don't be noisy. The madman shouted without turning his head, his eyes constantly scanning the depths of the demon land. After confirming again and again, this familiar summoning was real. Is it really as old Qin and the others guessed? I am someone's reincarnation and I came here in my previous life? The madman scratched his head in confusion. He always thought that the mystery of his birth was in the Nether King Hell, but now he was shaken. Could it be that his birth was the same as Qin Baishan's birth and could be in the sky cloud world? Little madman, what are you doing? Seeing the madman not move, the white-eyed wolf's face was filled with suspicion. The madman came back to his senses and retreated from the demon power. Qin Feiyang said, "Quickly refine the demon power in your body." Demon power? The madman stilled and then checked his body, only to find the demon power that had entered his body. What was this? Muttering, the madman used his divine power, which was the evil power, to refine the demon power. However, a change occurred. When the madman's evil power and the demon power met, the two quickly merged together and did not pose any threat to him. Even the madman was stunned by this scene. The demon power and the evil power could merge together. Could it be that these two powers were born in the same place? What are you doing now? Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf frowned. Since entering the demon land, why had this guy's actions become so strange? Could it be that his divine soul had already been corroded by the power of the devil? The madman looked at the man and wolf and entered the devil land without a word. A storm appeared around him. The formless demon power in the surroundings immediately surged into his body like a tide. What? Not only Qin Feiyang and the madman, but even Pei Tianhong's expression changed. Other people would think of ways to prevent the devil energy from entering their body, but this person actually took the initiative to absorb it? He was courting death. But the madman stood in the Een demon land with a very calm expression. The Een demon power continued to enter his body and quickly fused with the evil power. Furthermore, he discovered that as the two powers fused, a new power seemed to be born. Time slowly passed. Suddenly, the madman raised his arm and a dark red mysterious power slowly emerged from his palm. It was like a strand of hair. Although it looked inconspicuous, it emitted an aura that made one's heart palpitate. What is it? Qin Feiyang, the white-eyed wolf, and Pei Tianhong also felt this aura. Just this aura alone made their divine souls feel great danger. They couldn't help but be curious as they stepped out and landed beside the madman. When they saw the dark red power at such a close distance, the sense of danger in their hearts became even stronger. It was as if just this strange power could cause great damage to their divine souls. "Little madman, I'm asking you a question," the white-eyed wolf urged. "Are you deaf?" There was no response. The madman looked at the white-eyed wolf and then at Qin Feiyang and Pei Tianhong. Finally, he looked at the strange dark red power and shook his head. "I also don't know what this is." "You don't know?" The two men and one wolf were shocked. "Didn't this come from your body? Can you not joke around?" The white-eyed wolf was very annoyed. The madman's brow rose as he stared at the white-eyed wolf in annoyance. "I really don't know because this is the product of the fusion of evil power and Een demon power." Fusion? Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf stared. Did they hear wrongly? Evil power and Een demon power could actually fuse? Didn't that mean that the madman wasn't afraid of the Een demon power at all? What evil power? Pei Tianhong, on the other hand, was confused. "It's none of your business." The madman glanced at him indifferently. Then he looked at Qin Feiyang and the madman and said, "I'm also puzzled. These two powers can actually fuse, and after fusing, a new kind of power was born. I even have a feeling that this strand of power should be able to heavily injure your souls." Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf stared at the dark red power with a strange light in their eyes. The white-eyed wolf suddenly looked at Qin Feiyang and smiled mischievously. "Little Qin Zi, why don't you try and see how strong this power is?" Qin Feiyang's body stiffened as he said angrily, "Why don't you come?" The madman himself said that this power could heavily injure their divine souls. Although it was an uncertain statement, what if it could really be done? The white-eyed wolf smiled awkwardly as he glanced at Pei Tianhong. This old man's cultivation was strong. Even if his divine soul was hit, he wouldn't die. Snickering inwardly, the white-eyed wolf gave the madman a look. The madman also understood. With a wave of his hand, the dark red energy shot towards Pei Tianhong's forehead. "What are you doing?" Pei Tianhong was shocked. "Just an experiment, take out your divine soul." The madman grinned. Seeing Pei Tianhong's face darken, he said flatteringly, "Don't worry, your cultivation is so high, nothing will happen." Pei Tianhong was speechless, but he felt that this power was not much of a threat to him. Didn't he say he would perform well? Fine. He would take the risk and try. Whoosh! The divine soul shot out of the forehead and collided with the dark red power. A shocking scene appeared. When it met with Pei Tianhong's divine soul, the dark red power turned into a bloody mist that wrapped tightly around Pei Tianhong's divine soul. Pei Tianhong's eyebrow rose. His divine soul also turned into a mist that wrapped around the dark red bloody mist and then started to refine it. Yet, the more he refined, the more shocked he was. This dark red power was even harder to refine than the Een Mo power. Just this strand of power, if he wanted to change it into Een devil power, with his cultivation, he could do it in a few breaths. But this dark red power was extremely tenacious. Also, the corrosive power it contained was terrifying as if it wanted to devour his divine soul. After several hundred breaths, he finally refined it. His divine soul immediately returned to his consciousness. He then looked at the madman with his brows furrowed together as if he was looking at a monster. "How is it?" The madman looked expectantly at Pei Tianhong. "Very strong." Pei Tianhong nodded. "How strong is very strong? Can you be more clear?" The white-eyed wolf was displeased. Pei Tianhong glanced at it and said in a low voice, "Let's put it this way, someone with the same cultivation as the madman will definitely not be able to block this power." "No way." The white-eyed wolf did not believe it. Chapter 3360. You can try if you don't believe me. Pei Tianhong looked at the white-eyed wolf and said calmly. The white-eyed wolf gritted his teeth and said, "Let's try, who's afraid of who? Little madman, come." Only a strand of power was born now. Madman shook his head. The white-eyed wolf heard this and sighed inwardly. He looked at Pei Tianhong and said, "Don't say I don't dare, it's he who doesn't." Pei Tianhong looked down on him. He was clearly scared to death but still had to pretend to be strong. Wasn't he tired? This power is not only strong, but it's also the same as the Yin demon power. It can enter anywhere. Even if the soul is in the knowledge sea, this power can still enter. Especially its toughness and corrosiveness, it's several times stronger than the Yin demon power. If madman has enough of this power, then with this power, it's enough to destroy a faction. Pei Tianhong was shocked. This was the first time he saw such a strange power. Hearing this, Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other. Pei Tianhong definitely wouldn't joke with them. Just this thing alone could destroy a faction. It was too strong. Of course. I'm not talking about the super factions, just normal factions. Also, if your cultivation is higher than madman, then although you will be affected, the threat won't be too great. Pei Tianhong said again. Qin Feiyang heard this and turned to madman. He frowned and said, "Senior brother, what kind of freak are you?" "You're the freak." Madman glared at him and then looked into the depths of the Yin demon land. "Actually, the strangest thing is that there seems to be something calling me." "Calling you?" Qin Feiyang was taken aback. "Yes. A very intimate call." Madman nodded. "An intimate call." Qin Feiyang lowered his head and muttered. He suddenly looked at Madman in shock. "Could it be your background?" "I think so too." Madman nodded. This, Qin Feiyang couldn't believe it. Madman's past was also related to the Sky Cloud realm? However, we can't jump to conclusions because we haven't confirmed it yet. Madman shook his head again. He couldn't have too much hope. After all, there was a saying that the greater the expectation, the greater the disappointment. Since something is calling you and you can absorb the Yin Devil's power, what are we hesitating for? Let's charge in. The white-eyed wolf urged. Yes. The madman nodded and turned around to grab Qin Feiyang's arm. A suction force appeared in his palm and the Yin energy that had entered Qin Feiyang's body immediately flowed into the madman's palm. This made Qin Feiyang very envious. "Brother Wolf, when you were in the Nether King's hell, weren't you able to absorb the evil energy? Why don't you give it a try and see if you can absorb the Yin Devil energy?" Madman suddenly looked at the white-eyed wolf and said. "That's right." The white-eyed wolf patted his head and a powerful suction force appeared. The fallen leaves flew and gradually formed a huge whirlpool around him. Qin Feiyang and the other two couldn't help but retreat. Pei Tianhong was extremely depressed. The Yin Devil energy made all the creatures in the Sky Cloud realm tremble in fear. But the man and wolf in front of him actually took the initiative to absorb it into their bodies. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that they were monsters. After a while, The wind listened and the leaves fell. The white-eyed wolf turned to look at the three and grinned. Brother really has a divine physique. I can absorb any kind of energy. Awesome. Madman gave a thumbs up. Qin Feiyang and Pei Tianhong were shocked. They could really absorb it? Isn't this too outrageous? Divine physique? It was really possible. The white-eyed wolf and Madman looked at each other and then looked at Qin Feiyang at the same time. Jealous? Jealous? Looking at the man and wolf's faces, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but roll his eyes. He glanced at Pei Tianhong and asked, "Are you jealous?" Jealous. Pei Tianhong was still in shock and instinctively nodded. But just as he finished speaking, he reacted and shook his head. There's nothing to be jealous of. That's right. What's there to be jealous of? Qin Feiyang chuckled and then looked at Madman and White-Eyed Wolf. Besides, no matter how powerful you are, you can't block the slaughter domain. Hearing this, the man and wolf's veins popped. Can you stop showing off your slaughter domain in front of us? Are you jealous of my slaughter domain? Qin Feiyang chuckled and stepped out of the Yin Devil land. He waved his hand and Wang Chongyuan appeared. When he saw the Yin Devil land, Wang Chongyuan's pupils shrank. Although it wasn't his first time here, the reverence he had for the Yin Devil land was deeply ingrained in his heart. Unless he had no other choice, he really didn't want to step into this place. Qin Feiyang smiled. Don't worry, this Yin Devil power is no longer a threat. No threat? Wang Chongyuan was stunned. What did that mean? Could it be that the Yin Devil power had disappeared? He glanced at the Yin Demon land and suspiciously took a step forward. He landed in front of Pei Tianhong, the madman, and the ingrate and immediately felt the Yin Demon power enveloping them. It didn't disappear. Wang Chongyuan frowned and looked suspiciously at Qin Feiyang. It's fine, lead the way. Qin Feiyang faintly smiled and also landed beside them with a single step. How can it be fine? Wang Chongyuan muttered. He didn't dare to disobey. He waved his hand and swept up Qin Feiyang, Madman, and White-Eyed Wolf. He turned into a ray of light and rushed into the depths of the Yin Devil land. Demon Hall. In a large hall. The Demon Hall Master, Elder Hua, and Chu Yun sat together. We've finally gotten rid of our old enemy, the Blood Hall. It wasn't easy. Elder Hua sighed and smiled. Yeah. The Demon Hall Master and Chu Yun nodded and were filled with emotions. As the overlord of the Western continent, they had stood tall in the Sky Cloud realm for countless years. In the end, they were defeated by a junior. They had to admit that fate made fools of them. Chu Yun suddenly looked at Elder Hua and asked, since we've gotten rid of the Blood Hall, shouldn't we talk to Qin Feiyang? Talk about what? Elder Hua was stunned and looked at her suspiciously. Playing dumb? Of course it's about opening the door of potential. Chu Yun said angrily. About that? Elder Hua smiled and pondered for a while. We've helped him so much. It shouldn't be a problem to ask, right? Why don't? Elder Hua raised his head and looked at the Demon Hall Master and Chu Yun, only to find that both of them were looking at him. All right. I'll contact him. Elder Hua shook his head and smiled bitterly. He took out the Divine Sound Transmission Stone and sent a message to Qin Feiyang. However, after waiting for a long time, there was no response from the Divine Sound Transmission Stone. What's going on? Elder Hua frowned. The Demon Hall Master and Chu Yun looked at each other with a trace of suspicion in their eyes. Elder Hua tried a few more times. Seeing that Qin Feiyang still didn't respond, he sent a message to Madman. After waiting for a long time, Madman still didn't respond. The Demon Hall Master couldn't sit still anymore. He looked at Elder Hua and said, did they run away with our sovereign divine weapon? Hearing this, a cold light flashed in Chu Yun's eyes. They won't. Elder Hua waved his hand and said, "Didn't they say that they were going to the Yin Demon Land? I think they've already gone. You all know the situation in the Yin Demon Land. As long as they enter, they will lose contact." "Teacher, you trust them that much?" Chu Yun raised her eyebrows. "You have to believe in this old man's judgment. This old man has never misjudged anyone. You are the best example. When this old man taught you back then, I also valued your character. Talent was only secondary. Look at you now. Have you disappointed this old man?" Elder Hua chuckled. "How can I be the same as them?" Chu Yun looked at Elder Hua with dissatisfaction. Good. I was wrong. You're the best." Elder Hua smiled helplessly. He looked at the two of them and comforted them, "Believe in me. If they really ran away with the sovereign divine weapon, I promise that I'll find them even if I have to search the entire sky cloud boundary. We'll talk about it later. Aren't Shui Tiansheng, Lu Jingyuan, and the others still here?" Elder Hua added. "All right." The Demon Hall Master and Chu Yun looked at each other and nodded. At this point, they could only believe it. Chapter 3361. The Yin Demon Land. Qin Feiyang and the others didn't enter for long before they encountered a fierce beast. It was a cheetah. It was about 12 meters long, with black fur all over its body, but its eyes were like blood, emitting a bloody light. The cheetah's cultivation was at the great perfection imperishable realm. If this cultivation was placed in the ancient world, it would definitely be an extremely strong existence. But in the sky cloud realm, it could only be considered average. After all, in the sky cloud realm, sovereign realm experts were like dogs, so what was a great perfection imperishable realm expert? However, this cheetah attracted Qin Feiyang's attention. "Stop!" Qin Feiyang said. Wang Changyuan slammed on the brakes and stopped, looking suspiciously at Qin Feiyang. Seeing that Qin Feiyang was looking at the cheetah, he also looked at the prey, but didn't find anything unusual. Because he had been to the Yin Demon Land, the fierce beasts here all had blood-red eyes, so there was nothing strange about it. Including Pei Tianhong. He also didn't find anything unusual. But Qin Feiyang, the madman, and the white-eyed wolf couldn't help but frown. Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan had always lived in the sky cloud realm and had never been to the Nether King's hell, so even if they saw this, they wouldn't find anything strange. But Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf were different. They had been to the Nether King's hell and were very familiar with the fierce beasts there. And the prey in front of them, although its fur wasn't blood-red, its eyes were extremely similar to the fierce beasts of the Nether King's hell. "Senior brother, the white-eyed wolf. Do you think the fierce beasts of the Yin Demon Land are the same as the fierce beasts of the Nether King's hell? Not only can they survive in the Yin Demon Land, but they can also use the power of the Yin Demon to grow?" Qin Feiyang frowned. The fierce beasts of the Nether King's hell grew by absorbing evil power. "It's possible." The white-eyed wolf nodded. "It's not possible, it's definitely like this. There's one more thing that I didn't tell you. I also have a sense of familiarity with the Yin Demon power." The madman frowned, he was very confused about everything he was facing right now. "What?" The white-eyed wolf and Qin Feiyang looked at each other. On the side, Pei Tianhong and Wang heard this, their mouths agape. No kidding. A sense of familiarity with the Yin Demon power? In the sky cloud realm, who didn't know that the power of the Yin Demons was a nightmare that they couldn't get rid of? The Yin Demon power was the biggest threat of the Yin Demon Land's hell's hell. Since ancient times, who knew how many living beings had been corroded by the power of the Yin Demons and died here? Dita, T-test T-ts a die, s die. They no tst s great s demon s. Now that the two have merged, a new power was born. Qin Feiyang muttered to himself. His eyes suddenly trembled as he turned to look at the madman and asked, "Senior brother, this demon, Nether Kings, was left here in your previous life?" The madman was stunned and then rolled his eyes. "Do you really think I'm the reincarnation of some great being? That's not a possibility." Qin Feiyang smiled. "Come on, I don't believe it. I'd rather believe that I was born extraordinary, with good character and good luck." The madman narcissistically rubbed his chin and laughed. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf couldn't help but roll their eyes at him. Others might have been more like it, but who doesn't know who you are in the ancient world? Just as the two people and the wolf were chatting, the prey noticed the group of people. Its blood-red eyes immediately looked towards the group of people, and an ominous glint flashed. But when it saw that the cultivation of the group was unfathomable, it immediately roared in fear and ran away with its tail between its legs. It's quite self-aware. The white-eyed wolf bared its teeth. It was about to eat meat. "I wonder if leopard meat tastes good?" Continue. Qin Feiyang looked at Wang Chongyuan. Wang Chongyuan nodded and continued forward with the others. The reason why he let Wang Chongyuan lead the way was because only Wang Chongyuan knew where he had seen the fire dragon before. Next, they encountered many beasts. However, some of them didn't have blood-red eyes and looked like normal beasts. "Old Pei, let me ask you a few questions." Qin Feiyang turned his head and looked at Pei Tianhong. "Go ahead." Although he didn't try to curry favor with him like Wang Chongyuan, his current attitude was still okay. From the general situation, the beasts with blood-red eyes should live in the Yin Demon land all year round and can absorb the Yin Demon's power. As for the ferocious beasts with normal-colored eyes, they probably came from the outside, right? Qin Feiyang asked. "That's right. The beasts are the same as us humans. When they see a good place, they naturally want to go in to look for opportunities. However, they don't dare to go too deep. They only dare to take it from the edge." Pei Tianhong explained. "Can the beasts living in the Yin Demon land leave the Yin Demon land?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. When he was in the Nether King's Hell, he talked to the King of Hell and said that whether it was the Blood Demon race or the beasts in the Nether King's Hell, they couldn't leave the evil force. Since the evil force and the Yin Demon's power belonged to the same source, the beasts in the Yin Demon land shouldn't be able to leave the Yin Demon land. The beasts living here can go out, but they won't be out for too long. Pei Tianhong said. "In general, they still can't leave the Yin Demon's power?" Qin Feiyang asked. Pei Tianhong nodded and smiled faintly. "To them, the Yin Demon's power is equivalent to food. Without food, they won't be able to survive. It seems like the evil force and the Yin Demon's power are really connected. Maybe these two powers came from the same place." Qin Feiyang muttered. Hearing this, the frenzy's expression was a little hesitant. Was the mystery of his origin in the Yin Demon land? In the blink of an eye. An hour passed. Qin Feiyang had already reached his limit. The Yin Demon's power in his body was crazily rushing towards his soul. "Senior brother, hurry." Qin Feiyang looked at the frenzy and urged him. If he didn't absorb it now, he would definitely die here. The frenzy raised his hand and grabbed Qin Feiyang's shoulder. The Yin Demon's power in Qin Feiyang's body turned into a flood and rushed into the frenzy's body. Seeing this scene, Wang Chongyuan's face was filled with shock. Following which, the frenzy raised his hands and pressed them on Pei Tianhong and Wang Chongyuan's shoulders. The Yin Demon's power in their bodies also quickly disappeared. "Pervert," Wang Chongyuan muttered. He finally understood why Qin Feiyang told him not to worry. The frenzy could absorb the Yin Demon's power. "Wait. He looked towards the white-eyed wolf. This fellow didn't react at all. Could he also absorb the Yin demon's power? Before coming into contact with them, he felt that the reason why Qin Feiyang and the others were terrifying was because of the ruler weapon and slaughter domain. But now that he interacted with them, as his understanding of Qin Feiyang and the others deepened, the shock in his heart became stronger and stronger. These people were all monsters and couldn't be looked at with normal eyes. Boom! Suddenly, there was a loud explosion in front. There's a battle? And it's the aura of a human. Pei Tianhong and Wang Chongyuan looked at each other, their eyes flashing. What's so strange about people fighting in this place? The frenzy shook his head and smiled. No. Pei Tianhong waved his hand. What do you mean? The frenzy was slightly stunned and looked at him suspiciously. If it's a battle between beasts or a battle between beasts and humans, then it's normal. For example, the beasts we met along the way, if it wasn't for us being strong, they would have attacked us long ago. But it's hard to encounter a battle between humans in a place like the Yin Demon Land. Pei Tianhong shook his head. Why? The frenzy was even more confused. Because those who enter the Yin Demon Land are here to find fortuitous encounters and won't easily attack. Because this place is too dangerous, if they attack others, it will only make their situation worse. So, normally speaking, if they meet other people, they will either take a detour or cooperate. Although this cooperation is also using each other, before they find a fortuitous encounter, they won't scheme against each other. After all, one more companion means one more chance of survival. So, in the Yin Demon Land, as long as there is a battle between humans, it's basically because they have found a fortuitous encounter or a divine item. They will fight for these items. Pei Tianhong explained. When the frenzy heard this, he frowned and asked, "You mean, there's a fortuitous encounter or divine item ahead?" Most likely. Pei Tianhong nodded. The frenzy's eyes lit up and he chuckled, "Then what are we waiting for? Old Wang, let's go." Wang Chongyuan shook his head and smiled bitterly. There were already 2 Dominator weapons, was there a need to join in the fun? However, he didn't say anything and led them towards the direction of the battle. The white-eyed wolf's eyes flashed and he suddenly looked at Pei Tianhong and asked, "Little Pei, are there many treasures in the Yin Demon Land?" Cough cough. Pei Tianhong coughed and looked helplessly at the white-eyed wolf. "Can you not call me that? I'm a famous person, if others hear this, won't they laugh at me behind my back? Is there a problem with this? Do you think I will call a normal person that? As long as it's someone I approve of, I will call them that." The white-eyed wolf snorted coldly. "So, I have to feel honored?" Pei Tianhong looked at the white-eyed wolf in shock. "Of course." The white-eyed wolf nodded shamelessly. "All right." Pei Tianhong nodded and smiled bitterly. Not only was his ability abnormal, but his personality was also weird. He then said, "There are definitely many divine items in the Yin Demon Land, but there aren't many at the periphery. After all, be it humans or beasts, they are all wandering around the periphery. Since ancient times, who knows how many creatures have entered the Yin Demon Land and most of the treasures have been taken away by them. So, if you want to find divine items and fortuitous encounters in the Yin Demon Land, you have to go to the Central Region, Inner Region, and Core Region. Especially the Core Region, not only are there large amounts of divine items, but it is also said that there are inheritances of the power of laws." Pei Tianhong's eyes had a trace of yearning. Chapter 3362. Inheritance? Qin Feiyang, Frenzy, and the white-eyed wolf all looked at him in shock. "Don't you find it unbelievable? The power of law can be inherited?" Pei Tianhong looked at the 2 of them and the wolf with a trace of pride on his face. "Shameless. It's not like we haven't seen it before. The white-eyed wolf pursed his lips. What? You guys have seen an inheritance? This time, it was Pei Tianhong who was stunned. Including Wang Chongyuan. Not to mention seeing the inheritance of the power of law, not many people had even heard of it. This was because everyone thought that the power of law could only be comprehended by oneself. They didn't know that it could be inherited. Seen it before? You're looking down on us. Not only have we seen it before, but one of us has also received the inheritance. The white-eyed wolf smiled mysteriously. Who is it? Pei Tianhong was curious. Far away in the horizon but close in front of you. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Far away in the horizon but close in front of you. Pei Tianhong was stunned and looked at the white-eyed wolf suspiciously. It's you? Me? The white-eyed wolf said with disdain, I'm such an awesome character. Do I still need an inheritance? When it was placed in front of me, I didn't even take a look. Pei Tianhong's mouth twitched. This awesome character scored full marks. But thinking about it, this wolf cub could directly plunder and integrate with the power of law. As long as he focused on the strongest law, there was no need for him to go for other laws. Then it's you guys? Pei Tianhong looked at Qin Feiyang and frenzy. At that time, I didn't want the inheritance either. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. You didn't want it either? Pei Tianhong was stunned. Who exactly were these people? They didn't even want the inheritance placed in front of them. If it was someone else, they would probably burn incense and pray to Buddha. As expected. Demons had the capital to be arrogant. The white-eyed wolf also had enough of keeping them in suspense and smiled, its little frenzy. His law of death is from the inheritance. Are you the only one who talks nonsense? Frenzy stared fiercely. He felt a little embarrassed. Qin Feiyang's karma laws were comprehended by himself, while his death laws were inherited. Didn't this mean that he was inferior to Qin Feiyang? Therefore, when the white-eyed wolf brought up this matter, he did not pay any attention to it. I see. Pei Tianhong was enlightened. He looked at the white-eyed wolf and asked, when the inheritance came, did it come with its own ultimacy? I don't think so. The white-eyed wolf shook its head and looked at Madman, but Madman ignored it. Pei Tianhong was shocked when he heard that. He looked at the white-eyed wolf and said, he's stronger than you. Stronger than me? The white-eyed wolf was not convinced. Yeah. Although his law of death was inherited, the fact that he was able to comprehend the fifth profundity so quickly proves that he's indeed more powerful than you. After all, your three great supreme laws were directly plundered. Pei Tianhong said. That makes sense. Madman finally spoke. He looked at the white-eyed wolf and said in disdain, no matter what, I'm still stronger than you. The white-eyed wolf's face darkened. He said angrily, why don't you look at the process and only look at the results? Then you'll probably lose even more miserably. Although you're stronger than me and old Qin now, we're confident that we'll surpass you sooner or later. Madman chuckled. Is that possible? The white-eyed wolf looked at the two in disdain and said proudly, so what if you surpass me in the future? Anyway, I'm stronger than you now. This is a fact that you can't deny. Shameless. Madman snorted. He then looked at Pei Tianhong and asked, then, is there any supreme law inheritance in the core area of the Yin Demon Land? I heard there is. And there are rumors that there are supreme laws that come with their own ultimacy. Pei Tianhong said. What? He has his own supreme profound? The white-eyed wolf's eyes lit up. Qin Feiyang and Madman were the same. If there really was such an inheritance, then the core area of the Yin Demon Land was definitely worth the risk. Of course, this is just a rumor. Because no one from the Sky Cloud Field has been to the core area. Even I am the same. Pei Tianhong shook his head and sighed. Never been there? The 3 people and 1 wolf were stunned. Yes. Because the Yin demon power in the core area is even more terrifying. Not to mention the inner area and core area, even the middle area has 5 times more Yin demon power than here. It's said that the core area has at least 100 times more Yin demon power than here. Even with our cultivation, we can only stroll around the entrance of the inner area. Even in the inner area, we have to refine the Yin demon power in our body every once in a while. But the key point is that your refining speed can't keep up with the speed of it entering your body. So we don't dare to rashly enter the inner area, not to mention the core area. For us, the core area is a place of no return. People from the eastern and eastern continent usually don't have a time and space teleportation divine artifact or time and space laws. If they want to pass through the Yin demon land to the other continent, they have to go around the inner area and the core area. Pei Tianhong explained. So it's like this. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf nodded. So to be honest, I also want to go in and take a look. Pei Tianhong smiled. The white-eyed wolf chuckled, what's the problem with that? Right now, we'll fulfill your last wish. Last wish? Pei Tianhong's face darkened. He found that he really couldn't chat with this wolf cub. Nothing good came out of his mouth. However, with this wolf cub and madman here, he might be able to fulfill his wish and enter the core area to take a look. At the same time, Wang Chongyuan was also looking forward to it. For perfection sovereign realm experts like them who grasped the highest profundities, the core area of the sky cloud realms for forbidden lands was the true forbidden land. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment before looking at Wang Chongyuan and asking, Old Wang, where did you meet Elder Hu last time? The central area. Wang Chongyuan didn't even think and directly replied. Clearly, he had a deep impression of what happened back then. Then where did he disappear to? Qin Feiyang asked again. I didn't catch up to him at that time, but according to his trajectory, he should be in the inner area. Wang Chongyuan guessed. The inner area, the core area, Qin Feiyang muttered. It seemed like finding the fire dragon wasn't an easy task. The strangest thing was, why was Elder Hua in the Yin demon land? Could it be, suddenly? Qin Feiyang's gaze trembled and his face was filled with bewilderment. What's wrong? The white-eyed wolf and madman looked at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyang looked at them and asked, do you still remember how the fire dragon came to the sky cloud domain? Of course, it was the ice dragon and small beast that asked him to come. Madman nodded. That's right. Since the ice dragon and small beast asked him to come, why did he come to the Yin demon land when the sky cloud domain is so big? Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered. Madman pondered for a moment before his gaze trembled. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, you mean, the Yin demon land might be the ice dragon's true lair? What? This is the ice dragon's lair. Pei Tianhong and Wang Chongyuan's bodies trembled as their eyes were filled with fear. If this was really the ice dragon's lair, then wouldn't they be sending themselves to their deaths by coming here? Huh, the white-eyed wolf laughed. What are you laughing at? Pei Tianhong and Madman looked at him in confusion. What was there to be happy about? Enemies are bound to meet, shouldn't I be laughing? The white-eyed wolf sneered. Pei Tianhong and Madman were speechless. This wolf cub was really not afraid of anything. Don't worry, if the ice dragon dares to attack us, he would have already done it himself. Why wait until now? This brother is thinking that if his lair is really hidden here, then there must be a lot of treasures. When the time comes, we can just rob them all. The white-eyed wolf's eyes lit up as he smiled sinisterly. All right. If you want to go, then go. I won't go even if you beat me to death. Wang Chongyuan shook his head. Pei Tianhong also agreed with Wang Chongyuan for once. What kind of joke was this? What was the difference between robbing the ice dragon's lair and seeking death? Only a fool would do such a thing. Look at your cowardice. The white-eyed wolf looked at the two in disdain. This isn't a matter of cowardice, it's self-awareness. We don't have the strength, so don't provoke him. Besides, what if he attacks you personally? Just thinking about it made Pei Tianhong's scalp numb. Because he had direct contact with the ice dragon, he knew how powerful it was. If the ice dragon was willing to attack, the entire sky cloud realm could be razed to the ground in an instant. Who would want to provoke such a terrifying expert? That makes sense. Although he won't attack us personally, I'm afraid that you two, after all, you two betrayed him. Looking at Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan, the white-eyed wolf laughed sinisterly. Hearing this, the two were even more terrified. That's enough. Don't scare them. Qin Feiyang glared at the white-eyed wolf and looked into the depths of the Yin Demon Land. Whether the ice dragon's lair is here or not, I want to enter the core area to see. I want to see what secrets are hidden inside. Hearing this, Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan looked at each other helplessly. Since Qin Feiyang had to go, they could only follow. They only hoped that it wasn't the ice dragon's lair. Otherwise, even if they had 9 lives, it wouldn't be enough to fill the gaps between the ice dragon's teeth. While talking, the battlefield in front was getting closer and closer. There were not only 2 people, but at least a dozen people fighting. The ripples from the battle were like a tide, rolling over. Like an earthquake, the ground was trembling and the mountains were shaking. It seems like they really are peak dominator realm, Wang Changyuan muttered. He decisively activated his law force and formed a barrier, isolating the ripples outside. Otherwise, it would harm Qin Feiyang, Madman, and the white-eyed wolf. They are destroying the Yin Demon Land on such a large scale, don't the beasts here care? Madman frowned. There's no need to care. Because no matter how serious the damage is, everything will automatically return to normal the next day. Pei Tianhong said. Automatically return to normal? Madman was shocked. Wasn't this similar to the God-Demon Forest? The God-Demon Forest was the same. You can destroy it however you want and everything will return to normal. First, it was the evil force and Yin Demon Force, now, it was automatically returning to normal. If one were to say that the Yin Demon Land and Nether King Hell had nothing to do with each other, they wouldn't believe it even if they were beaten to death. Chapter 3363. Dozens of breaths later. Qin Feiyang and the others stopped in the air and looked at the battlefield in the distance. There were 2 groups of people. One side had 8 people and the other side had 9 people. All kinds of laws, heaven-defying divine artifacts, heaven-defying divine arts flew in the sky. Accompanied by loud rumbling sounds, the ground kept shattering and the void crazily collapsed. It was like the scene of the end of the world. So intense? Madman was surprised. They were fighting with their lives on the line. What was it that was worth them fighting so hard? None of them comprehended a supreme intent. They're just a bunch of ants. Pei Tianhong's eyes were full of disdain. Madman looked at him in shock. However, when one thought about it, it made sense. He was a mighty overlord who possessed the supreme profundities of supreme laws. Ordinary perfect sovereigns were indeed no different from ants before him. Wang Changyuan was scanning the battlefield when he suddenly pointed at the ground below and shouted, "Look!" Qin Feiyang's group and the white-eyed wolf were stunned. They looked down and their eyes flashed with surprise. Right below the battlefield, there was a grassland about 10 feet wide. There was a cluster of black flames floating above the grassland. The flame was the size of a palm and was like a ghost fire. It merged with the darkness of the night and couldn't be noticed if one didn't look carefully. Moreover, there were barriers around the flame. These barriers were formed by the power of laws and should have been set up by the two sides in advance to prevent the flame from being affected during the battle. This should be pill fire? Pei Tianhong observed for a while and said. He wasn't sure. Because there was a barrier, he felt the aura of the flame. He didn't know if it was pill fire or some other flame. Pill fire? Qin Feiyang frowned and looked at the two sides. He whispered, they should be fighting for this flame. Since it can make them fight so hard, it definitely isn't ordinary. Makes sense. Madman nodded and looked at Wang Changyuan. He smiled and said, Old Wang, what are you waiting for? Go and get it. Right now, Qin Feiyang needed pill fire. Last time, he asked Xingde to go to Mo Lu, but Mo Lu couldn't take it out and had to find Chu Yun. But because there were too many things, Qin Feiyang didn't think of this matter when he saw Chu Yun. Besides, he didn't want to trouble Chu Yun all the time. Because he could see that Chu Yun did not like him very much, let alone trust him. All right. Wang Changyuan nodded and stepped out of the barrier, heading straight for the flames. The dozen or so people were too engrossed in their fight to notice him. It went very smoothly. Wang Changyuan arrived in front of the barrier. Then, the law of thunder rolled out. With the power of thunder, he punched the barrier. Crack! Following a series of crisp sounds, the barriers shattered one after another. It was also at this moment. When the two parties who were fighting above heard the commotion, they immediately lowered their heads to look at Wang Changyuan. Their brows furrowed in anger. He actually dared to snatch food from the tiger's mouth. Boom! At the same time, there were a total of 17 people on both sides. They stopped fighting at the same time and joined forces to attack Wang Changyuan. Everyone's eyes were emitting intense killing intent. They still dare to attack old Wang? Madman was surprised. Although Wang Changyuan was once the vice commander of the Blood Hall's secret guards, he rarely goes to other continents. Even if he goes to other continents, he comes and goes alone and doesn't show his face in front of others. Moreover, the Een Devil Land is located between the eastern and southern continents. Most of the people who come here are from the eastern and southern continents, so many know his name, but not many have seen him before. Pei Tianhong explained. It turns out that this is the way of the strong. Only by remaining mysterious can one appear to be unfathomable. Madman bared his teeth. Pei Tianhong smiled bitterly. What did this have to do with remaining mysterious? It was purely because he didn't want to have any interactions with unnecessary people. Courting death. Wang Changyuan raised his head and looked at the group of people. Killing intent surged in his eyes as he directly activated the Supreme Profound, Eye of Thunder. This is, the Supreme Profound of the Law of Thunder. Not good, retreat. The 17 of them were all sovereigns. Although they had never seen Wang Changyuan before, they knew the Supreme Profound of the various laws. The moment they saw the Eye of Thunder, their expressions changed. They knew that they had encountered a ruthless person and immediately turned to flee. Although treasures were important, their lives were more important. You still want to leave? Wang Changyuan was once Pei Tianhong's trusted aide and was even personally trained by Pei Tianhong. His personality was naturally similar to Pei Tianhong's, ruthless. Rumble. Streaks of destructive lightning shot out, and the aura locked onto the 17 of them. No, my lord, we didn't mean to offend you, we'll give you that alchemy fire. Please give us a way out, the 17 of them begged in fear. Why were they so unlucky? They had finally found a divine item, but in the end, a supreme expert with Supreme Profound appeared out of nowhere. It's really an alchemy fire? Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback. He immediately looked at the black flame with anticipation in his eyes. What rank would the alchemy fire be? Right now, he wasn't interested in anything lower than rank 7. However, based on the way these people were fighting, it shouldn't be lower than rank 7. No. At the very least, it should be a rank 9 alchemy fire for it to be so tempting. If it was really a rank 9 alchemy fire, then they would be considered lucky this time. Because even Mo Lu couldn't take out such an alchemy fire, one could imagine how rare it was. Hearing those people begging, Wang Chongyuan was indifferent. He sneered. I want the alchemy fire. I want the people too. Dozens of destructive lightning bolts shot out like lightning, and the terrifying aura destroyed everything in all directions. No, accompanied by a series of screams, the 17 of them fell from the sky one after another, not even leaving behind a corpse. This was the power of Supreme Profound. Directly crushing. A bunch of ants indeed. Wang Chongyuan smiled disdainfully. He turned off his Supreme Profound, looked down at the flame, and reached out to grab it. Whoosh! However, right at this moment, a black figure suddenly appeared and grabbed the black flame before Wang Chongyuan. It activated an assist-type divine art and flew away without looking back. And looking at its speed, it was a supreme assist-type divine art. This sudden change stunned Wang Chongyuan. Even Qin Feiyang, the frenzied one, the white-eyed wolf, and Pei Tianhong were shocked. There was actually someone hiding in the dark waiting for an opportunity? You are really snatching food from a tiger's mouth. Pei Tianhong came back to his senses and looked at the black figure that was about to disappear into the night. He muttered to himself and took a step forward. His entire person seemed to merge into the river of time and instantly disappeared. Instant time. There is actually someone who dares to act rashly in front of us. Interesting. The frenzied one's face was full of ridicule. You think Wang Chongyuan is the strongest? As long as you get rid of Wang Chongyuan, you can get the alchemy fire? Wrong. There is someone even more terrifying than Wang Chongyuan here. This black shadow had kicked an iron plate. Wang Chongyuan also came back to his senses and prepared to chase, but seeing Pei Tianhong chase, he gave up and turned to fly towards Qin Feiyang, the frenzied one, and the white-eyed wolf. Actually, he was very vexed in his heart. He was too careless. He let Pei Tianhong grab the chance to perform. Although he had already opened the door to all his potential and didn't need to perform as hard as before, but there was a good saying. If a person can help you, then they can also destroy you. Furthermore, he was now controlled by the slave seal and had to be loyal to Qin Feiyang for the rest of his life. Therefore, he must continue to perform. For example, the position of commander. If he didn't perform well, would Qin Feiyang give it to him? In short, regarding his future fate, he must not be careless. I'm sorry, young master. Wang Chongyuan walked over with his head lowered. His face was full of self-blame. Although he knew that Qin Feiyang wouldn't blame him, he still had to put on an act. It's fine. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and smiled. Boom. But before he finished, another terrifying aura suddenly appeared behind Wang Chongyuan. Be careful. Qin Feiyang, the frenzied one, and the white-eyed wolf's expression suddenly changed. Because they were facing Wang Chongyuan, they could immediately see the situation behind Wang Chongyuan. They saw that behind Wang Chongyuan, there was another black shadow. The most important thing was, in the black shadow's hand, there was a dagger that glittered with cold light. It was a supreme-grade heaven-defying divine artifact. Moreover, the speed of the black shadow was also extremely fast. Before Wang Chongyuan could react, the dagger was like a poisonous snake hiding in the dark, showing its sharp fangs and directly piercing into Wang Chongyuan's sea of qi. Ah! Wang Chongyuan cried out miserably in pain. His powerful aura immediately dissipated. Obviously, his sea of qi was broken. He was covered in cold sweat. He was too careless to hide two black shadows. He quickly looked at Qin Feiyang, the frenzied one and the white-eyed wolf in front of him and shouted, "You guys go." Go? The black shadow smiled sinisterly, pulled out the dagger, and looked up at Qin Feiyang, the frenzied one and the white-eyed wolf. Wang Chongyuan rushed in front of the two men and the wolf. Although his sea of qi was destroyed, he still stood in front of Qin Feiyang and the others bravely. This made Qin Feiyang feel quite touched. Because this was a kind of instinctive behavior, and it was completely different from deliberately showing it. Instincts were the subconscious of people. This was the most authentic side of people. If Wang Chongyuan could have this kind of subconscious, it meant that he had really started to treat him as his master. Get lost. The black shadow snorted and kicked Wang Chongyuan. With a crisp crack, Wang Chongyuan was not only kicked out, but also had several of his ribs broken. His face was distorted from the pain. Bastard, if you dare to touch a hair of the young master, I will not let you go even if you go to heaven or hell. Wang Chongyuan roared. Okay, don't talk anymore. Take care of your injuries. Qin Feiyang turned to look at Wang Chongyuan and smiled. Then he looked back at the black shadow and said with a faint smile, "If you want to kill and rob, you have to find the right target. Now you have found us. I can only say that your eyesight is not very good. Kill and rob?" The black shadow was stunned and said in astonishment, "You actually think that I am the same as those people Wang Chongyuan killed before?" No. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Wait. This person actually knew Wang Chongyuan? What was going on? Could it be that he met an enemy? He lured Pei Tianhong away and destroyed Wang Chongyuan's sea of qi just to kill him, the frenzied one and the white-eyed wolf? Chapter 3364. Madman looked at the black shadow and raised his eyebrows. Don't be so mysterious. Show your true face. You want to see my true face? I'm sorry, but you won't have the chance. Just die for no reason. The black shadow laughed sinisterly. The dagger in his hand flickered like a ghost hiding in the night sky as it swept toward Qin Feiyang's lower abdomen. Since you know I'm Qin Feiyang, why are you courting death? Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. As his voice fell, the horsetail whisk suddenly appeared. What? The Blood Hall's sovereign divine weapon is also in your hands? The black shadow's expression changed. You think it's in Pei Tianhong's hands? Qin Feiyang sneered. What happened in the Blood Hall? Wang Chongyuan and Pei Tianhong are by your side, and even the sovereign divine weapon is in your hands. Why didn't I hear about this when I returned to the eastern continent half a month ago? The black shadow was extremely flustered. He then turned around and fled without looking back. Clang! The horsetail whisk shook slightly and a wisp of divine power shrouded over. The black shadow was immediately imprisoned in the void. Why is it like this? The black shadow roared in his heart. This was completely beyond his imagination. Although he knew Wang Chongyuan and Pei Tianhong, and although he didn't know why they were by Qin Feiyang's side, the horsetail whisk was the Blood Hall's sovereign divine weapon, so it must be in Pei Tianhong's hands. But he never expected that it would be in Qin Feiyang's hands. What was going on? Qin Feiyang took a step forward and landed in front of the black shadow. He reached out and took the dagger from the black shadow's hand. The dagger was a sovereign divine weapon and had an artifact spirit. But at this moment, it didn't dare to struggle in front of Qin Feiyang. Because the sovereign divine weapon's aura was too terrifying. Qin Feiyang grabbed the dagger with a faint smile on his face. In the black shadow's eyes, this smile was like a devil's smile. He couldn't help but feel his scalp tingle. He wanted to struggle. He even wanted to self-destruct. However, the might of the horsetail whisk was like a sky full of frost, sealing him in ice. You returned to the Eastern Continent half a month ago. That means you're from the Eastern Continent. Those who have a grudge against me in the Eastern Continent have either died in my hands or reconciled with me. I'm really curious. Who are you? Qin Feiyang smiled and casually stabbed his saber into the Black Shadow's abdomen. Blood immediately spurted out. With the sea of qi shattered, the power of the horsetail whisk loosened slightly. The Black Shadow immediately howled miserably. Qin Feiyang pulled out his dagger and stood silently at the side with a faint smile on his face. It was as if he was enjoying a good show. After the Black Shadow stopped screaming, he raised his head and looked at Qin Feiyang. His eyes were filled with fear and despair. Was this the famous Qin Feiyang of the Eastern Continent? Whether it was his methods or his mentality, almost no one in the younger generation could match him. Now you can reveal your true face. After a while, Qin Feiyang said with a smile. The frenzied one, the white-eyed wolf, and Wang Chongyuan also walked to Qin Feiyang's side and looked at the Black Shadow curiously. The Black Shadow was wearing a black robe with a black mask on his face. Only a pair of eyes were exposed, making him look very mysterious. Wang Chongyuan looked at the Black Shadow and then at Qin Feiyang. Since he knows me and Pei Tianhong, he must have a certain background in the Eastern Continent. Seeing the Black Shadow staring at them without any intention of taking off his mask, Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, "Looks like we still have to do it. Old Wang, be ruthless." "Understood." Wang Chongyuan nodded and laughed sinisterly. Although his sea of qi had been destroyed, he still had his spirit. A wisp of spirit emerged and covered his palm as if he was wearing a glove. He raised his hand and slapped the Black Shadow's face. Crack! The mask shattered on the spot. This slap contained all of Wang Chongyuan's strength and fury. How dare he sneak attack him? Wasn't this courting death? Not only was the mask shattered, but the Black Shadow was also sent flying. His teeth were shattered and mixed with blood. Half of his face was also lacerated. He was in a very sorry state. Vent your anger. Qin Feiyang looked at him with a smile and asked. Vent my anger. Wang Chongyuan nodded and smiled. Qin Feiyang said, then drag him over here. Okay. Wang Chongyuan nodded and walked over. He grabbed the Black Shadow's arm and dragged him in front of Qin Feiyang like a dead dog. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, raise your head and let me see. The Black Shadow lowered his head and turned a deaf ear. Damn it, don't you understand? Wang Chongyuan slapped him again. Blood and flesh splattered everywhere. Don't. How can I recognize him when he's beaten beyond recognition? Qin Feiyang quickly stopped him. Wang Chongyuan was stunned. He scratched his head and smiled, young master, I'm sorry. I forgot about that. Following that, Wang Chongyuan raised his arm and grabbed the Black Shadow's neck, forcefully raising the Black Shadow's head. Because of Wang Chongyuan's 2 slaps, the left side of his face was badly mutilated, but the right side of his face was intact. However, Qin Feiyang, Madman, and White-Eyed Wolf all revealed looks of doubt. They had never seen this middle-aged face before. What was going on? But at the same time, Wang Chongyuan's eyes revealed a trace of surprise. You recognize him? Qin Feiyang and White-Eyed Wolf looked at Wang Chongyuan. Wang Chongyuan stared at the intact half of his face, pondered for a while, and suddenly slapped his head. He looked at the Black Shadow and sneered, so it's you. Who? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Wang Chongyuan looked at Qin Feiyang and said, young master, don't you know? He is from your Rogue Cultivator Alliance. Rogue Cultivator Alliance? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. He turned to look at White-Eyed Wolf and Madman, but the white-eyed wolf and madman shook their heads, indicating that they had no impression of him. Wang Chongyuan said, "It seems that you have indeed not seen him before. He is the son of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance's 10th elder. I have seen him once before, so I have some impression of him." 10th elder's son? Qin Feiyang and White-Eyed Wolf looked at each other. This was too much of a coincidence. They actually met this person? They had indeed not seen this person before, but he was not unfamiliar at all, because they had investigated this person's whereabouts before. Zhuo Tiansheng, Lu Zhengyuan, and Elder Yu had investigated and found out that they had entered the Yin Devil Land many years ago. They originally thought that this person might have encountered a mishap, but who would have thought that not only was he alive and well, he had even broken through to the sovereign realm. Since he was the 10th elder's son, there was indeed a deep hatred between them. Madman shook his head and sneered, "We didn't come to find you, but you took the initiative to find us. I really don't understand, how can there be such a foolish person? Isn't it good to be alive?" But the 10th elder's son did not say a word. He stared at Qin Feiyang and White-Eyed Wolf, his eyes full of hatred. "You were in the Yin Devil Land back then, you don't know the situation back then. This matter, the fault lies with your son Feng Wanyun, Feng Wanjian, and your old man, the 10th elder. We were only forced to retaliate. To be honest, they deserve to die, they do not deserve any sympathy," Qin Feiyang said indifferently. Chapter 3365. Don't be complacent. You will die in the Yin Demon Land sooner or later. The middle-aged man's eyes were filled with hatred. "We don't know if we will die, but you will definitely die." The madman laughed. The middle-aged man was not afraid of death. His half of his face was filled with a cold smile. There was a trace of mockery towards the madman. The madman raised his eyebrows. This person's gaze was really annoying. Whoosh! But at this time, accompanied by the sound of something breaking through the air, Pei Tianhong grabbed another black figure and landed beside Qin Feiyang like lightning. When the black figure saw the horsetail whisk, he immediately let out a cry of surprise. It was actually a woman's voice. Pei Tianhong waved his hand and threw the black figure at Qin Feiyang's feet. "It seems to be someone from your Rogue Cultivator Alliance." "Someone from the Rogue Cultivator Alliance again?" Qin Feiyang, the madman, and the White-Eyed Wolf were stunned. Wang Chongyuan was also stunned. He grabbed the black figure's chin and raised the black figure's head. A middle-aged woman's face immediately appeared. "Who is it?" Qin Feiyang, the madman, and the White-Eyed Wolf were suspicious. It was a face that they had never seen before. Wang Chongyuan thought for a while and revealed a look of understanding. He raised his head and looked at Qin Feiyang. He pointed at the middle-aged man and smiled. "Young master, this is his woman." The two people and the wolf were stunned and immediately shook their heads and laughed. So it was Feng Wanyun and Feng Wanjian's mother. It had to be said that fate was really wonderful. "I'm very curious. You and your wife returned to the Eastern continent half a month ago. Even if the Blood Hall incident had not happened yet, you should have some understanding of our situation. So why did you come to ambush us?" Qin Feiyang was puzzled. The Blood Hall was destroyed not long ago, so they were still planning half a month ago. However, he had the ancient castle and the slaughter zone. Basically everyone knew about it. Logically speaking, the existence of the ancient castle and the slaughter zone should be enough to deter this couple. So why did they still come to die? That's because we know that the slaughter domain requires a large amount of blood. You definitely won't open it easily. We also know that the castle is a sovereign divine weapon that you can't control. Moreover, your ancient castle is usually placed in the Black Tortoise world. Now that the Yin Devil Land is unable to enter the Black Tortoise world, even if you're in danger, the ancient castle won't be able to come out and save you. Therefore, even if Wang Changyuan and Pei Tianhong are here, as long as we are careful, we can definitely kill you. But I never expected that the Blood Hall's Dominator divine weapon would be in your hands. What happened these days? Why are Wang Changyuan and Pei Tianhong with you? Why isn't the sovereign weapon with Pei Tianhong? Why is it with you? The couple was puzzled. If it weren't for the Blood Hall's sovereign divine weapon, he would have been able to kill Qin Feiyang, Li Qie, and the White-Eyed Wolf. Because not long ago, the Blood Hall was eliminated by me. Pei Tianhong, Wang Changyuan, and the sovereign weapon have all submitted to me. Qin Feiyang said lightly. What? You've eliminated the Blood Hall? The couple looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. That's right. Qin Feiyang nodded and asked, one more question. When did you come to the Yin Demon Land after returning to the Eastern Continent? When we returned to the Eastern Continent and heard what happened to the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, we immediately returned to the Yin Demon Land after learning that Father, Yun, and Jian had died in your hands. Because we were afraid of exposing our whereabouts and being discovered by you. As for now, we originally wanted to return to the Eastern Continent to ask about you, but we didn't expect to encounter a 9th-level divine pill fire. We originally planned to wait for the two groups of people to mutually injure each other before coming out to reap the benefits. But we didn't expect you to come here as well, so what happened next happened. The middle-aged man smiled sinisterly. So that's how it is, Qin Feiyang nodded in realization and asked suspiciously, then why did you return to the Yin Demon Land half a month ago? After all, with your cultivation, you could have lurked in the Eastern Continent and waited for an opportunity. This has nothing to do with you. The couple replied indifferently. The Yin Demon Land is so dangerous. You came out alive with great difficulty, but in the end, you returned to the Yin Demon Land. Why do I feel that the Yin Demon Land has become your shelter? And, Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed coldly as he asked, why do you know that I can't control the ancient castle? Don't tell me you asked because no one in the Sky Cloud realm knows about this except for Master and the others. You seem to know me very well. That's right. Frenzy and the White-Eyed Wolf slapped their heads and finally reacted. The fact that they couldn't control the ancient castle was a little secret in the Sky Cloud realm. More importantly, this couple had been in the Yin Demon Land all this time, so it was even more impossible for them to know. Something was strange. The people of the Sky Cloud realm don't know, but it doesn't mean that people in other places don't know. Qin Feiyang, do you really think you can kill us? I dared to let Madame restrain Pei Tianhong, so how could I not have a trump card in hand? The middle-aged man suddenly sneered, and a dazzling white divine light suddenly emerged from his forehead. At the same time, the middle-aged woman's forehead was the same as white divine light surged out. What's that? Qin Feiyang and the others suddenly had a trace of surprise in their eyes. Under the white divine light, there seemed to be a blood imprint. The next moment, under everyone's incredulous gazes, the two's crippled chi-sees and injuries were instantly healed. Swish! Immediately after, the two suddenly jumped up, activated the supreme-level auxiliary technique, and fled into the depths of the Yin Demon Land like lightning. I didn't see wrong, it's indeed blood, so familiar, Frenzy frowned. The White-Eyed Wolf and Qin Feiyang were the same. Suddenly, the two men and one wolf's eyes trembled as they roared, it's a blood imprint. Qin Feiyang immediately shouted, Horsetail Whisk, Old Pei, we can't let them escape, we must keep them alive. Clang! The Horsetail Whisk shook, shattering the sky, and took the lead to disappear into the night sky. Pei Tianhong also activated momentary time and chased after them like lightning. Young master, what kind of blood imprint made you so surprised? Wang Changyuan looked at Qin Feiyang and the White-Eyed Wolf in surprise. Qin Feiyang said, when you first met the fire dragon, didn't you see a blood imprint on its forehead? Yes. It's a fiery red blood imprint. Wang Chongyuan nodded. This blood imprint is not only fiery red, but also white, gold, and blood. The strongest is fiery red, followed by white, then gold and blood. Back then, when we were in the lower realms, we encountered these blood imprints. At that time, the 10 strongest guardians under the fire dragon had white blood imprints on their foreheads. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. Wang Chongyuan was shocked when he heard this, and asked, according to what you said, these 2 people are related to the fire dragon? Chapter 3366. It's definitely related. Because only the fire dragon has this type of blood word imprint in the sky cloud field. The fact that these 2 could enter the perfection sovereign realm so quickly and even have a supreme level divine art and divine artifact, it must be related to the fire dragon. It's probably because it's related to the fire dragon that they know so much about me. Qin Feiyang lowered his head and looked at the black dagger in his hand, his eyes flashing. The black dagger was trembling, it was unknown whether it was from fear or excitement. Because from the fluctuation of emotions emitted by the black dagger, Qin Feiyang and the others could clearly feel a desire. Follow me, I'll send you to the origin of the black tortoise field. Qin Feiyang said. Hearing this, the black dagger trembled even more, this time it could be clearly determined that it was excited. Boom! Not long after. A rumbling sound came from afar. It was obvious that Pei Tianhong and the horsetail whisk had caught up. Very quickly. Boom! Another 2 loud and deafening sounds rang out, shocking everyone. Following closely. Qin Feiyang, the other 2, and the white-eyed wolf felt a destructive aura rolling over. Could this be self-destruction? Wang Chongyuan's expression changed. Now that they couldn't enter the black tortoise field, if the couple really self-destructed, they would all be finished. But very quickly. A monstrous divine aura exploded. This was the aura of the horsetail whisk. As soon as the divine aura of the horsetail whisk appeared, the destructive aura immediately dissipated into nothingness. Let's go take a look. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and led Wang Chongyuan, the mad scientist, and the white-eyed wolf deeper into the field. But they didn't fly far before Pei Tianhong and the horsetail whisk met them. Where are they? Qin Feiyang frowned. Because he only saw Pei Tianhong and the horsetail whisk, he didn't see the couple. Pei Tianhong sighed, they were very decisive, seeing that their Qi was about to be destroyed, they directly chose to self-destruct. Sure enough, they self-destructed. Wang Chongyuan muttered. Qin Feiyang, the lunatic, and the white-eyed wolf all had ugly expressions on their faces. That fire dragon had always been a great threat to them. Back in the Nether King's Hell's Forest of Gods and Devils, he had almost killed them. He had long wanted to settle these scores with the fire dragon. However, the fire dragon had the support of the ice dragon and the small beast. Even if they had the chance, they wouldn't be able to kill it. Fortunately, people don't live long, but disasters last for 1,000 years. This sentence was indeed true. Who? A moment passed. Qin Feiyang let out a long sigh. He looked at the madman and the white-eyed wolf and said, "Don't worry. Since they have the blood word mark, there must be other creatures with it in this Enma land. Just be careful next time. I hope there are more." Madman and the white-eyed wolf nodded and sighed. The white-eyed wolf suddenly looked at Pei Tianhong and asked, "What about the pill fire?" Pei Tianhong waved his hand and the black pill fire appeared. Without the isolation of the barrier, the quality of the pill fire could be identified immediately. It was indeed a rank 9 divine pill fire. Qin Feiyang took the pill fire and looked at it for a while. He smiled and said, "We got rid of 2 hidden dangers and got a rank 9 divine pill fire. It's a good start. Madman and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other and couldn't help but laugh. Pei Tianhong looked at the pill fire and then at Qin Feiyang. Actually, a rank 9 divine pill fire is nothing to you right now. What do you mean? Qin Feiyang looked at him suspiciously. The resources of the blood hall not only include a large amount of soul veins, crystal veins, herbs, pills, divine artifacts, and divine arts, but also many divine pill fires and pill furnaces. There are many of them of all grades. We even have a rank 10 divine pill fire and a rank 10 divine pill furnace. Pei Tianhong said. That's right. Qin Feiyang slapped his forehead. It seemed that he hadn't sorted out the resources of the blood hall. Thinking of this, he looked at Pei Tianhong and urged, "Go back the way you came and send these resources to the Black Tortoise world. Let the Fire Lotus help organize them." They hadn't gone deep into the Yin Demon land yet. Even if they went back the way they came, it wouldn't take much time. The horsetail whisk entered Qin Feiyang's body. With a wave of his hand, Pei Tianhong took Qin Feiyang and the others with him and teleported away. At the same time, somewhere in the inner region of the Yin Demon land, a fire dragon was lying on a mountain with its eyes closed. Its body was emitting a powerful aura. But suddenly, it opened its eyes, which were filled with shock. Why did the imprints of those two humans suddenly disappear? Could it be, they've already met with misfortune? The fire dragon muttered as a cold light flashed in its eyes. With a wave of its claw, an image appeared in the void in front of it. The image showed the place where the couple had self-destructed. They actually self-destructed their bodies? The fire dragon's eyebrows raised. With the blood character imprint, the two of them could be said to be undying, invincible. But now, they had self-detonated. There was only one reason for this, and that was that they had encountered a super expert who had mastered the most profound mysteries, or a sovereign weapon. This emperor wants to see who has the ability to force them to self-destruct. A vicious aura rose from the fire dragon's brows. It closed its eyes and extended its senses. It felt like Qin Feiyang was in the Black Tortoise world. It could see the situation of the Yin Demon land through its senses. Very quickly, the fire dragon's senses stopped at a certain place. It saw 4 people and 1 wolf rushing outside at lightning speed. Qin Feiyang, Madman, Wolf King. Immediately, when it opened its eyes, 2 beams of cold light shot out from them. The saying, "When enemies meet, their eyes turn red," was the most appropriate to describe the fire dragon at this moment. "I've finally waited for you guys to come. It seems that they died in your hands. However, what do you mean by this? Do you want to leave the Yin Demon land? Since you have already seen the blood word imprint appear in the Yin Demon land, then with your brains, you should be able to think that this emperor is definitely in the Yin Demon land. Not coming to take revenge on me?" The fire dragon raised its eyebrows. It didn't understand what Qin Feiyang and the others wanted to do. Suddenly, it rose into the air and shouted, "All generals, quickly gather here." It was like a bell that resounded in all directions. Whoosh! Accompanied by the sound of air being torn apart, 100 figures flew out from all directions and landed in front of the fire dragon. A total of 100 people. There were men and women, old and young. Their cultivations were all at the Great Perfection Dominator realm. There was a faint white blood word imprint between their eyebrows. 100 people stood in front of the fire dragon with incomparably respectful expressions. They bowed and said, "Greetings, Lord." The fire dragon nodded and pointed at Qin Feiyang, White-Eyed Wolf, and Frenzy in the image. He asked, "Do you see the 3 of them?" 100 people raised their heads and looked over. Then, they nodded at the fire dragon. "Bring your subordinates to hunt them down and torture them." Let them experience the feeling of living a life worse than death. Finally, this emperor wants to see their corpses. The fire dragon snickered and said with a vicious aura between his brows. Yes. 100 people replied respectfully. Just as the group was about to turn and leave, the fire dragon suddenly looked at Wang Chongyuan and exclaimed, "Wait a moment." 100 people stopped and turned to look at the fire dragon suspiciously. The fire dragon looked at Wang Chongyuan and muttered, "Why does he look familiar?" Suddenly, it revealed a look of realization and chuckled. So it's that human who wanted to subdue this emperor and make this emperor his mount. This person, you guys give this emperor special care. Understood. 100 people nodded and turned around. Like ghosts, they quickly disappeared into the night. Hanging out with Qin Feiyang and the others, then I have no choice but to kill you. This is really fate. The fire dragon looked at Wang Chongyuan, Qin Feiyang, White-Eyed Wolf, Frenzy, and Pei Tianhong in the image with a cold smile. As for the horsetail whisk, it didn't see it. Because before it could search, the horsetail whisk had already returned to Qin Feiyang's body. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.